It is your PrisonPlanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here on this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe it's already Friday. And we're going to be here live for the next 3 hours on this 22nd day of February 2013. And I will attempt to be calm today and go over all of the off-the-charts news and information that we're going to be covering. Now, I told you this was coming. But now it's official. The ATF is just going to make rules outside of law to start banning semi-automatic firearms. And the federal government, without a judge or jury or even doctor's designation, is going to declare most vets mentally incompetent and mail you a letter. And one lawyer alone knows of hundreds of vets that are coming to him getting this letter. And so we're going to be going over this report that's up at Infowars.com. Federal government moves to disarm veterans. And Kurt Nimmo has added the Department of Veterans Affairs official letter that states a determination of incompetency will prohibit you from purchasing, possessing, receiving, or transporting a firearm or ammunition. If you knowingly violate any of these prohibitions, you may be fined, imprisoned, or both pursuant to the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act, public document number 103-159, as implemented in 18 United States Code 924A2. And DrudgeReport.com has the original story on this, with a breakdown report. Feds send letters to vets from VA prohibiting ownership or purchase of firearms or even shooting them, and they have the area excised, and it's from the lawyer at Red Flag News. Now, I'm already aware of this information, so I can confirm this is going on, but it's intensifying. Clinton, when he left office, tried this. About 89,000 vets just suddenly were told they couldn't own guns anymore, but it became a big court issue and they had to back off. This is dwarfing that right now. And this isn't where a court finds you incompetent and so you're put in the nut house. You're in the nut house now. You're in the nut house now. Kind of a takeoff on the Johnny Cash song, You're in the jailhouse now. And this is just completely arbitrary. It's what the Soviets did. It's what so many historians have pointed out and talked about tyranny coming in a medical form. And not that this globalism is so much a Soviet system. They use Soviet models of control and Soviet collectivism at the grassroots to control and redistribute wealth, but then it's done in a fascist way, as it always is, only redistributed to key, select combines for political control. And then you have the globalists offshore who are exempt from all that. Pretty devastating info. The reason the Kurt Nimmo article is important, because it's originally in Red Flag News and the GatewayPundit.com via DrudgeReport.com. The reason this is so important is that we've been on this for 17 years, but hardcore for 11 plus. That it's not Al-Qaeda that Homeland Security's for. It's for gun owners, conservatives, libertarians, constitutionalists, you name it. And that the liberals have all this liberal talk on the surface, a lot of which I actually agree with, but they don't follow through with it. It's all oppressive. They're the real authoritarians. They are the authoritarians. They say a lot of great stuff about equality and the rest of it, but it's all talk. It's camouflage. They are the most dangerous authoritarian party. And the Republicans are their kissing cousins at the leadership level. We'll be right back with this incredible news. It's all happening day by day, grain by grain. The hourglass runs dry, our liberties spilling into the dark void of tyranny. It is Friday, the 22nd day of February, 2013, and we stand here at a crossroads, in a conundrum, in a paradox. Never have there been more people awake worldwide to tyranny. The Council on Foreign Relations bemoans that. Zbigniew Brzezinski, one of the top global tacticians, bemoans that. But also, never before has there been greater technological systems of domination, surveillance, and social control pointed at free humanity. And never have we had a more decentralized tyranny that basically load balances in a plausible deniability algorithm to where it's very hard to cut a hydra's head off, because these globalists couch all their policies and rules and laws and frauds in different committees and waivers and certifications, so that the bureaucracy is so deep that no one can ever point the finger at just one person. And that's why the tyrants can get away with so much. There have been many cases in history where you have an oligarchy, a small ruling elite, or a royal dynasty, or one emperor for that matter, and they will actually be egomaniacs who want big public work projects and aqueducts and want the population educated so they can dominate their neighbors and have a better military and a better economic system. Domination through trade. You've heard of the philosopher king. You can actually get golden ages out of the benevolent dictator. The problem is those are very rare, A, and B, once the centralization is set up, you can be assured that when that emperor is killed or when that emperor dies, you're going to get a psychopathic demon in their place, or maybe just somebody who's a little bit of a tyrant, but down the road you will get a absolute out-of-control psychopathic control freak in there, and then all hell will be released. I've studied the psychopathic mindset and the different dictatorial mindsets, the different variants throughout history. A, because I want to understand the present. To know the present, you have to know the past. To know the future, you need to know the past and the present. That's all important. That's what the globalists obsess on all day. That's what their Google and NSA spying is all about. It's what all their smart houses and smart meters and all these surveillance bots hiding in plain view in our homes are doing. But again, they lack the general, deeper, loving, kind-eyed, kind-souled understanding of their own human nature to be able to wield this power. And they are arrogant, and they are basically like a diver who goes down below 150 feet, starts getting, the nitrogen psychosis, and starts getting higher than a kite and feeling incredibly confident. And then you swim into that old wreck, even though you're almost out of oxygen, feeling confident, you get caught up, it cuts your air hose, and you drowned. And tyrants up in those upper latitudes of power, if they're narcissist / sadist control freaks, or whatever variant of that, they get the opposite of the megalomania up top and then start hating everyone below them and engaging in absolute oppression and domination, and anything left standing has to be pulled down because it's a threat to them. Yertle the turtle has to be up on top. And so higher, higher, build me up higher. I have to be higher than the birds. I have to be higher than the clouds. I have to be higher than the sun. It's the old story of Yertle the turtle, Dr. Seuss. And here we are at that point. There is no doubt that the establishment has decided to go the way of premeditated oppression. The Republicans have been told, get in line. They're running the hoax that the real Tea Party, not the neocon variant, has been discredited, because even though it's not perfect, it holds the seeds of the republic, private property, the family, Second Amendment, right to life, things like that in its guts. And so it must be destroyed. And so they're running the hoax that the states are discredited and there's no rights there and there's no rights in the individuals, and gun owners are collectively guilty for the violence in Mexico, even though our government helped set that up with Fast and Furious, and we're guilty for Sandy Hook, and we're collectively terrorists, and we're collectively bad. And racial division, creating a race connection if you don't like socialist health care written by the insurance companies to bankrupt the country and consolidate power. Completely fascist, but they sell it as some socialist freebie. Well, you must be racist then. You're like, what does that have to do with common sense? It's a non-starter. It doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense, because everything is debased down to a bunch of bleating and shouting, Obama, Obama, or emails and comments I see going, I like Newt Gingrich. That's a real conservative. They don't know he's a globalist, picked as a university professor because he wrote publications calling for world government, calling for a one-world planetary regime, hanging out at Bilderberg group meetings and stuff. They don't know. And I listen to talk radio callers on other shows. They're so helpless, most of them. And they have and that's a more informed group on average. They have no idea. It just doesn't make sense. The government shouldn't raise taxes. The government shouldn't do that. It's going to make the economy shut down. They're so stupid. They're not stupid, ladies and gentlemen. They are financially debasing you. Now, here's the deal. I'm going to be getting into the economy. I've got to today. It's so important. Covered it some yesterday, but not 1/10 of what I should. A bunch of medical news. Now people are finally listening about MSG. Doesn't just make you sick. It brain damages you. Okay? Don't eat MSG. We've got to eradicate it. Aspartame, now it's coming out, is giving people type 2 diabetes. As I told you 17 years ago, because they knew day one they couldn't get it approved in the 60s and 70s, folks. It killed the monkeys they fed it to. Killed them. Go look it up. That's finally in CBS News, and finally, but they're hitting us with hundreds of chemicals on purpose. Remember, but even if people are weak-minded and can't admit that because that's scary, even if you deny it, it's still going on. The point is it's hurting you. So we've got some news on that. The shocking truth about organic foods grown in the world's worst environmental cesspool, China, being flown in. It's not just horse meat. It's what's for dinner. It's not just fake fish, chicken. They texturize and put chemicals in to give it a fishy taste. And they put it through different machinery and reconstitute it to look like fish, extruding it out of molds. They do it with pork. All this is coming out that the food's fake, the water's fake. Fake, fake, fake. That's part of living under a tyranny. And it's part of living in a society where, oh, there's no lying going on, or I don't care if the government lies to me. Well, when you don't care if the government's lying to you, or if you don't care if corporations are lying to you, and if you just kind of unplug from reality and just go with it, very bad things happen. See, everybody's been taught it's an attribute to be silly, to be foolish, to not care, to say to hell with it. But it's not, ladies and gentlemen. It just makes things worse. Now, that said, I'm going to cover our top story, and it ties into the other Second Amendment news and the TSA news on the other side of this break. And I knew this was already being tested. I knew this was coming. But it really freaks me out because it's so over-the-top brazen. And I want you to call all your friends and family, whether they have an iPhone, they can go download the free iPhone app. That's linked at Infowars.com or PrisonPlanet.com in the listen page area. Or just Google free Infowars iPhone app, or there's free Android apps, all of them. Or you can listen on your local AM or FM station. XM 166 picks up the second and third hour. But tell your friends and family to tune in right now. Tell them to tune in right now. Email them, call them, tell your coworkers if you're on lunch. You need to hear this because the system plans on just putting this out there, and maybe they have a congressional hearing and then debate it, and then nothing happens. This is the end of due process. It's really a cherry on top of everything, and it confirms everything else, all the documents, all the training manuals, all my law enforcement sources in FBI, in ATF, in federal marshals, in state police, in local police. I told you years ago they're training to confiscate veterans' guns en masse. I told you years ago they're going to send a letter to veterans saying, come turn your guns in. They're going to tell generals to turn their guns in, just like the Soviets did. They'd only captured part of Moscow. They ordered the military to turn their guns in. And they did it. They promised an amnesty if they did. I mean, this has happened everywhere else, and we just can't believe it's happening here. They really are going to have a hot coup takeover, a purge, a mass arrest. They really are planning that. Okay, that's not rhetoric. We've got to defend the Republic. We've got to defeat these globalist tyrants. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Okay, let me get into our top stories, ladies and gentlemen. First off, federal government moves to disarm veterans. No judge, no jury. They just say, well, you're a combat vet. You're not allowed to have guns anymore. We can't trust you because it's a foreign takeover. We have the official Department of Veterans Affairs saying, here is your letter. You can't own guns anymore. No judge, no jury. It's like a no-fly list. As Rahm Emanuel said back when he was White House Chief of Staff, he said, we're just going to put you on a no-gun-buy list, whoever we want, because we think maybe you might be a possible terrorist. We're going to be going over that, going over the actual documents that we have linked up at Infowars.com, where it's all broken down. We're going to get the constitutional lawyer on who's representing these clients. So that is all coming up. Sincerely yours, K. Kalama, Veterans Service Center, Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs. That's just this letter. No judge, no jury, no nothing. It's kind of like when L.A. sends me a bill for $1,200 saying, somebody put an Infowars.com sign up. And so you owe us this or we're going to arrest you. No citation, no judge, no jury, no statutory law, just we have men with guns. We will sue you. We will put a warrant out, and Texas reciprocates. They are going to arrest you. The state police are going to arrest you. $1,200 scum. Veterans, there is no law. We are redcoats. We're coming for your guns. We have SWAT teams ready. Of course, they'll take their guns later, too. But they'll love it. I mean, if the vets don't turn their guns in, they'll burn them up like Dorner. Federal government moves to disarm veterans. Boom. DHS contractor apologizes for selling shooting targets of children. Now, we put it out. We put the story out. We broke it on Monday. People couldn't believe it. The company responded. DHS spent $2 million requesting targets of children to shoot and pregnant women. And now they've responded, apologizing, saying they won't sell them to the public anymore. That was their mistake. They were supposed to just sell those to DHS and keep that training with the 2 billion bullets quiet. So that's now official. And Michael Moore, who has bodyguards that I've personally been shoved around by for no reason, tried to ask him a question in the New York streets politely. And you could see they all had bulges under their jackets carrying firearms. His bodyguards have been arrested before, carrying firearms in illegal areas, like the airport. But he has guns, by the way, and he has bodyguards. He says, we have the video, he says, get a dog. You're not worth $80 million like Michael Moore. Or my old friend Charlie Sheen, who's being politically correct now, I guess, saying, well, I've got bodyguards, so you don't need a gun. Well, Charlie, we don't all make $3 million a week like you. We don't all own a block of the Hollywood Hills. What, 4 houses on the same block, bro? Here, let's go over to this giant palace house with swimming pools. And it's the disconnect, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm not, I like Charlie. I've known him a long time. In fact, I can't even bring myself to call him and criticize him. I don't even know what to do anymore. I got to call him. Speaking of talking to people, I'm going to come back in a longer segment and get into the magnitude the officially, no judge, no jury, no designation, no nothing. Mainly how they're doing is you go into the VA and they ask you, how you feeling, Bob? Been a little angry lately after you had to have that leg amputated because of diabetes? Yeah, it's really making me angry. Okay, have fun going home. And you get home and the CPS is taking your kids and your guns have been taken forever. Oh, yeah, they're not just going to take your guns. They're going to take your kids. I forgot that part. That's all over the news. They even have veterans organizations now. Oh, yeah. You know, you go watch Zero Dark 30, and it's all the Navy SEALs, and they're real men, and we're going to be replaced with robots very soon. The Air Force already is. And it's how much the system loves the troops. They hate you. Let me show TV viewers this card. Rob Jacobson gave this to me for my birthday on February 11th as a joke. It's Bill and Hillary Clinton. And that's back when they were CIA operatives in the late 60s, and they were over in London under a famous CIA section chief. Yeah, they're CIA, just like Anderson Cooper. And again, when you're CIA, that's foreign banks that took over through Skull and Bones that founded the CIA under OSS in 41 and the CIA in 47. This is the foreign takeover group. This is the monopoly group. And this is who rules us. These are the people that run our country today. About as high as it gets are Hillary and Clinton as top-level minions of the actual owners. And look at them. I want to show people this. This is who we're going to bow to. We're going to take forced inoculations because they say. We're going to turn our guns in because we say. And they're going to take the veterans' kids because they say. And they're going to put us in re-education camps because they say. And look how weak and pathetic they are. But because they're weak and pathetic, laughing at us, we'll let them run our lives because we love to be slaves. All right, folks, Alex Jones here, back live, and we have a lot of new listeners today. Let me explain what's happened. Foreign mega banks have taken over most of the world because they can issue unlimited currency and credit and then pay our governments off to sign on to that fraudulent derivative debt. Because that fake paper, once it's invested and once it infects the 401ks, the pension funds, the bond markets, now is basically holding us all hostage. And this is how they're consolidating the economy into a top-down, organized, managed, command and control system. And they have basically hobbled the public's mind by only teaching you about leftism and right-wingism, or fascism on the right, communism on the left. And which, you know, fascism always becomes authoritarian, communism becomes authoritarian, because they're authoritarian systems designed by the robber barons starting in the 1870s on record. I mean, they've had the congressional hearings on this. There have been countless white papers and books written by Helmut Schmidt, Men in Power as a Political Retrospective, Carol Quigley's Tragedy and Hope. I don't know, 4 or 5 books. I've read 3 of them by Zbigniew Brzezinski. All of it. And they sell it to every audience. They sell it to libertarians one way. They're Peter Thiel. They sell it to liberals another way. They sell it to right-wingers another way. But really, it's all the same poison labeled with different flavors. It's grape, it's cherry, it's coconut, it's strawberry, it's orange, it's lime, it's lemon lime. It's all those flavors. It's raspberry Kool-Aid. But it's all the same base poison cyanide. Jim Jones handed out a bunch of different flavors there in Guyana. But it was all the same thing at the rock bottom. At the rock bottom. And they are trying to create literally a false political reality with a dumbed-down population so that the globalists, let's look at motive, get the life extension technologies and can have their progeny enjoy the resources of the earth and the advanced human development for themselves. It is the ultimate act of total domination. The culmination of British royalty funding scientists in the 1850s beginning for a political system of total control to end the species as it has been known, to artificialize it, to hobble it, to binary damage it with a poison in the culture of artificial degeneration so that the power structure has to be the artificial gravitational girder or center of the wheel system to unify and control it. Everything is about making us dependent on them. getting us in the judicial system, getting us in the psychiatric system, getting us into the criminal justice system, getting us into the fraternity, into the cult, into the guild, into the right wing, and the liberal, the gay, the straight, the black, the white, the Raza, the Mecha, the Klan. Getting you into your group, then with key globalists over it at each point in Rothkopf and the Kissinger group's superclass model. I had Rothkopf, head of the Kissinger group at the time, who wrote Superclass 5 years ago. I talk about it so much because I'm like, why did you come on the show when I saw your book in the Washington Post? He goes, well, I know it's a good-sized show. And I said, did you think I was Alex S. Jones, you know, the head of the Shorenstein Center and the former head of the New York Times? And he goes, no, I knew you were Alex E. Jones. He goes, I wanted to have you on and try to convince you globalism is good. I was talking to him during the few breaks. He was on for 30 minutes. Maybe it was an hour. You can go pull up that interview out there. And after that, we've called him. He said, no, I couldn't convince you. You don't understand. I don't want to come back on. I'm too busy. But during the breaks, he's like, well, you're part of the superclass. You know, you're like a leader of the patriots. I mean, that's how this works. I was like, oh, I can still be a patriot and be Mr. Libertarian, but then I can kind of do little favors. He's like, well, that's not how it works. This is during the break talking to him. But he's like, you know, it's not as bad as you say. It's the way it's always been. You know, it's no big deal. It's warm inside. Come on inside, Alex. But see, that's only the cover story, folks. It's very dark on the inside of this thing. And I'm not bragging about myself. I'm not bragging about Alex Jones here. I'm saying that I've had top national radio executives try to get me to sell out to the New World Order. And it's the same thing. Globalism's the future. You can't stop it, Alex. You're going to be a star or be on this crusade and go nowhere. I've been giving that speech like 4 times by 4 different radio executives. Rothkopf was giving me the speech during 3-minute breaks. Don't you understand, folks? This is not my opinion about this New World Order. But I'll tell you what I found. When everybody sold out, and I never did this on purpose, but when everybody sold out, it's lesser and lesser returns to sell out. I never sold out because I'm not signing on to corruption and evil and death and destruction. I have goodwill for people. But I'll use an analogy that I've read in the Wall Street Journal and other places about porn. 30 years ago, a top porn actress might get paid $2-3 million a year, $500,000 per picture. Now, the quality of women is off the chart, supermodel level, and they're getting paid $500 because there's such a glut. Every young woman wants to be a star, and the only place you get called a star, a mind control event. You're a star being a cop. You're a star being a bureaucrat. You're a star when you're the manager at McDonald's. You have power. Like the TSA says, I have power. I have power. Now the women are paid $500, top stars, $2,000, $3,000. And they've got to do more and more horrible things. And I've read where the porn directors and people brag, it's been my mission to destroy society and Christianity. And, of course, they're just cogs, too. The top scientific technocrats, they've got their God. They've got what they believe in. But it's about debasing you so you have no human empathy so that when you're being abused next, your neighbors won't help you. Because they've lost their empathy. In fact, I'm going to get to the top story here in a moment, but yesterday I was driving home, and I never do this. And I said, you know what? I'm going to turn down this street, and I'm going to go to this movie theater, and I bet there is a Zero Dark 30 showing in 10 minutes. And I didn't really know movie show times because I went home early yesterday at about 3 o'clock. My kids weren't going to be home till about 6, so I thought, you know what? If it's showing right at 3:10, I'll see it. I pull in, 3:10, walk in, it starts, 2.5-hour movie. And I just knew what the whole thing was going to be. It was a giant torture porn event with powerful, sexy women doing the torturing. And, oh, it's so powerful. The CIA is so cool, and they're such great people, and they're so good, and they're so nice. Folks, they run the giant child kidnapping rings. They run the narcotics. And I don't just need the Solicitor General's hearings in '97 where they confirm they run most of the narcotics, or that that the CIA protects the groups that run the snuff films and all of it. And Brzezinski's argument in one of his books, he says, oh, yeah, we control organized crime. What was it, the Technotronic Age, I believe. Wrote that in the 70s. He goes, yeah, yeah, the intelligence agencies, Interpol in Europe, CIA here, we do control the organized crime and all the vices because then we can control it and limit it by controlling it because it'll always be there. It's like a fake libertarian Rand Corporation statement. Hey, it isn't your libertarian technotronic right to grab 5-year-olds out of backyards, torture them, rape them for 6 months, and blow their heads off because you're into that. And then all their movies, you know, are about demons killing kids and the kids kill their parents and, you know, all the rest of it and all this stuff, getting you ready for the real deal. Bathing you, waterboarding you in just Satanism. Just, oh, yeah, we're torturing people's kids to keep you safe for 9/11. The whole movies, they killed 3,000 of our citizens, so we've got to torture them. Of course, they didn't show the little kids being tortured or how they got KSM to talk and then confess the things he didn't do in the movie. And it's dog collars and people defecating on themselves. And I sat there and watched women in the audience. It was mainly women because it was a matinee, and a late matinee, and it was about 10 women in there and about 5 men. And I sat there people watching and watched the women getting upset but also feeling powerful. Look how they just tortured him, getting off on it. I mean, it's so sick how they're programming you. So this is not the CIA. This is foreign governments. And I don't even need to know all the congressional hearings and what's admitted and the Army reports. Every person I know who was in the CIA in my extended family that I've talked to, and it's like, you had family in the CIA? Yeah, it's like saying I had family that worked for Frito-Lay. It's a gigantic operation, about 50 times bigger than you're even told it is. There's CIA in every neighborhood. It's nothing. It's not like some sex, it's like porn stars. They're nothing but whores on video. Because there's a glut. It's nothing. And they recruit all these people that think they're rock stars. You go to Walmart or Target and half the toys for kids are how to spy on your parents and how to be a spy, priming them right out of high school. And they all just get off on how they're secret agents. They're buying the whole thing. It's a joke. You're nobody. You're nobody. Nobody. And nobody rides for free. You're not America. You're the sword going right in America's heart. And it was Churchill that said the truth must be guarded by a bodyguard of lies. That's another twisted way of saying we've got to be more evil than the evil guys to beat them. No, that's not how you beat evil. You have the moral high ground. You have the facts. And you work and build up society and create investment and give people their own money back and you take to the stars. That's what builds civilizations, not a bunch of sickos lying to the public and lying to themselves. I'm going to do my review of the film. It's already out there online, too. You know, you can buy it online. I'm gonna have to watch it and take notes. It was so horrible. It was exactly what I knew it would be. Just a giant fable fiction. And I knew from the start at the end she would be there when they got his body. And I even saw her in a tent unzipping it because none of us were allowed to see bin Laden because it was all fake. You know, they killed the SEALs that were involved, almost all of them. But that didn't fit into the narrative. Like, oh, Pat Tillman died charging the machine gun nest. Oh, of course he did, with the Easter Bunny. And I knew before it started, she at the end, it would be in the tent, and that she would unzip it by herself, and she would see bin Laden, and then we would all have the collective event of seeing bin Laden. I remember how they put out all those fake bin Laden videos and photos of him dead, and we even went and found the original photos and showed it was fake, and then I'd talk to people who have, like, family and intelligence and stuff, and they'd go, I'm not going to show you the photo, but it's real. We were showing it internally. And we're like, you don't have those clearances. You were sent it by some of your buddies at, you know, the different defense contractors. I won't say which one. And I said, is it this one? They're like, I'm not going to talk about it. Oh, see, you were shown the real photo. And the weak-minded public that thinks wrestling's real, they all went, and a lot of them are going to think that was real. Oh, oh, 0 Dark 30, you saw bin Laden's body. Oh, and the woman goes and unzips it. And there it is, and it's so powerful and so wonderful, and all the hot blondes and redheads torturing people. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's so powerful, and they get the job done. Oh, and it's all this catty, fake, trendy, yuppie thing, all these fake mannerisms, pre-programmed, all of it. I could just see the layers of psych warfare. Meanwhile, the guys up on top, they're in power because they like to watch snuff films of kids all day. All the big, old, ugly men that you bow down to and kiss their butt all day. All you women in the CIA wonder why none of them are interested in you. You've just signed on to pulling toddlers' teeth out with pliers. You've just signed on to the coldest circle of hell, the ninth circle. And again, I'm not even demonizing the CIA, because it's just a New World Order British banking intelligence. It's a private Rothschild intelligence, basically. A Russell Trust intelligence. An Illuminati intelligence. On record, Illuminati founded Skull and Bones, 1832. Skull and Bones creates the core of the OSS U.S. version for British implantation, the two penetrating each other, merging the houses. That's what Pratt House was meant to do. It is well set up in 1922 in New York. We are the British Empire. We are the New World Order, and we pay for it, and we get the blame for it, and we get all of it, and then the good old boys sit around and go, yeah, we got them Arabs. We got them Arabs oil. We got them Arabs. And I'm like, hey, Bubba, what were you paying before the last Gulf War in 1991? What were you paying in the second big one in 2003? You were paying about $1.25, $1.30, $1.40. You like paying $4 a gallon? Saddam's crime was pumping too much oil to pay off his debts. His crime was wanting to have a sovereign country. His crime was being a CIA high-level trainee to be a puppet of Iraq and kicking the CIA out and saying, I'm the boss. His crime was putting women in college. His crime was playing rock and roll music on the radio. His crime was not being run by Saudi Arabia. And his crime was, again, the Iran-Iraq war. They ordered him to launch against Iran that killed several million Iranians and hundreds of thousands of Iraqis. That 7, 8, 9-year war, that got him into $40 billion worth of debt. He was trying to pay it off. And they said, hey, Saddam, we want you to give them these vaccines. He said, I'm not going to kill my people. I'm not going to sterilize them. And they said, well, then die, punk. We took you when you were an army captain at age 20 and trained you for 3 years in Cairo for your job to break down that country and kill your people. And you're going to do it or you're dead. Is that clear? And by the way, the goal they have for America is the exact same goal they have for those Iraqis, and that they've got for the Libyans, and they've got for the Syrians, and they've got for the American people, and they've got for the Canadians, and they've got for every African, every Latin American, every Asian, everybody on earth is targeted by the New World Order. And they are not going away. They are not standing down. They are not backing off. They are not quitting. And now they're getting ready to downsize the civilian force by 1 million plus. They're getting ready to downsize the armed forces by 200,000 at least. And they're going all robots and drones, and they're going to list you as the enemies while praising you. So that's a high-level psyop. Veterans are God. Veterans are God. Veterans are the best hero ever. By the way, take their guns. They're the terrorists. Mow them down. You're like, well, I love the government. They say we're heroes, but they're mowing us down. That is a coordinated, multifaceted psyop hitting you at both levels. I tell you what, here's what I'm going to do. Because I know a lot of people are tuning in because I've asked listeners to call their friends and family. I'm going to go over these letters where they're just saying, there's no judge, there's no jury. We're just going to say, you are now... what's the term they use? Incompetent. You know, like when you have your 95-year-old dad or whatever, because he won't stop driving the car, you have him declared incompetent and make him a ward. They're going to make veterans just en masse wards. They're going to make you serve 5, 6, 7, 8 tours. They're going to put people on psychotropics that make them go haywire. And then they're going to use the minority that do bad things. It's a small minority. Veterans still statistically very low crime rate. And they're going to take all of your rights. While having, we salute the troops at the Super Bowl. And all those psyops I told you, the Mayak and Homeland Security report said veterans are the #1 terror threat. They will attack every city. They will attack every department with IEDs. That's the manuals. And people saw that 4 years ago and said, this can't be real. Veterans will attack every police department? Well, they're going to start a civil war. They're going to hunt you down. If we let them do this, this is outrageous foreign globalists trying to do this. Then I got all the other news. I got Michael Moore saying you shouldn't be able to have any guns, get a dog. Well, he has guns on record and 5 or 6 bodyguards every time I've seen him. I've seen him at the DNC with about, let's not exaggerate, 10 people. Looked like 7 of them were bodyguards, 3 of them were entourage. What is this about entourage? Like, you haven't arrived, you have a big entourage behind you? I mean, I guess Michael Moore is the equivalent of about 5 people himself. I'm not trying to be mean. It's so hypocritical, so we're going to be talking about that. By the way, so many times you listen to people, you like their music, you like their art, you like their politics, you like what they say, and you never imagine you'll ever talk to them. And sometimes you talk to them and it's anticlimactic. Other times it's even better than you thought. And I was truthful with him. I said, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I disagree with some things you said about the left, how they should all be thrown in prison because that's tyrannical. But now they're saying throw everybody who's a libertarian in prison. And I understand it was tongue-in-cheek. He goes, yeah, you get it. But talked to Michael Savage yesterday. And he's on the show next Tuesday. Next Tuesday with some groundbreaking news and information, not just on his new book being censored, but so much more. This is probably going to be quite a mix, quite an explosive mix in a good way. Because Savage, I don't want to say he's reclusive, but he doesn't do a lot of media. And it's hard to get him on the air. And so I am very excited about what is going to be, obviously, a news-making interview with Michael Savage and the threat he thinks is posed by China infiltrating our government. And I certainly agree with that. But more. He's going to be on this, I think, for about 40 minutes or so. In fact, I got to get all that nailed down. We have to test the ISDN line with him and all that. Having told the producer that I talked to him yesterday afternoon, right before his radio show. Got it. Like a 25, 30-minute conversation with Michael Savage. Even smarter in person. Because I disagree with some things he said over the years, but overall he's a patriot, pro-Second Amendment, pro-sovereignty, been demonized quite a bit, banned from going to England. But I mean, it's I can't believe people I get to talk to. I mean, I'm sitting there for like 25 minutes talking to Michael Savage, and he didn't say any of this is off record, but he was saying quite a bit of interesting stuff. It's just going to be off record. If he wants to say it on air, he is welcome to, but I certainly don't kiss and tell, as they say in the journalism business. So, wow, Michael Savage. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. The things we talked about, to say the least. I mean, if that was on radio, that would be powerful. So we'll see what happens next Tuesday. And there's some other big stuff going to happen next week that's even bigger than that. It's not a guest bigger than Michael Savage. If this happens, it'll probably be one of the biggest things we ever did. And muy grande, how do you say dangerous in Spanish? Peligroso? Muy grande, peligroso? Peligroso. Just, my life is really like a science fiction movie. But all our lives are. Second hour coming up. Speaking of Michael Savage, who I talked to yesterday, who's on with us next Tuesday, he got criticized a decade ago talking about all the disease coming out of Mexico, the drug immune TB, all of it. Thousands may have been exposed to deadly TB epidemic downtown L.A., and again, it's all pretty much coming out of Mexico. And, I mean, it's a third world collapsing country. It'd be like if we had India next door or something. You understand, if we keep taking all these people and it lowers the wages, it's going to collapse the economy. And that's the globalist plan. It's just so incredible. I want to build Mexico up, but you don't let Mexico, an authoritarian country, use the U.S. as a steam valve, and the globalists here want that because it's part of a North American Union. I just have goodwill and know that the globalists are behind all this, and it makes me sick. So we're going to be getting to that report out of, what is that, CBS. We're going to be getting to all of that coming up. And we've got all these distractions going on. The feds to sue Lance Armstrong. I mean, come on. Professional sports is full of drugs. I'm not saying that's okay. Go after the Bank of England and the Federal Reserve for LIBOR scandal, fixing interest rates. oh, let's go after all the stuff that, again, makes Bernie Madoff look like an angel compared to it. Let's go after the government narcotics trafficking. All we're hearing about is Oscar Pistorius. Is that how you pronounce it? I've been ignoring this. The granted bail ahead of murder trial. Every news channel, you wouldn't think they're gearing up for war with Iran, war in Syria, Libya, destabilization, new al-Qaeda alerts, imploding economy. All I'm hearing about, look at this. FBI agents caught sexting drug dealers. Oh, man. It's just such a corrupt society. Yeah, what do you think happens to FBI agents and people that are involved in the drug running and stuff? And they're around it. I mean, they're instantly taken to a party, hooked up with the cream of the Midwest farm girl, who's a whore now, and they're controlled by the underworld ever after. How do you stop that? You stop, I'm reading Drudge Report right now, that's why I'm doing that, Biden to gun owners. You've had no better friend out there in 35 years than me. He's re-quoting the same crap he said over and over and over again. Politico's been frozen out after calling Obama the puppet master. Yeah, they were just writing about what an incredible manipulator he was and how much they loved it. But, oh, no, Obama's not a puppet master. In fact, I saw Zero Dark 30 where they killed the Easter Bunny. I mean, Bin Laden. I mean, Santa Claus. I mean, the Loch Ness Monster. And it showed the film, and it must be real. And it has Obama on there saying, I will not allow torture. Doesn't matter that they estimate they've doubled the black sites, the ghost sites, the torture sites. Doesn't matter they found one in Benghazi down the street when they ordered the stand down where they're torturing people. It doesn't matter. He has a peace prize. So when he attacks Libya or Syria or 5 different other African countries, it's loving, it's liberal. Now, when we come back, I'm going to focus, cover the news, and then I'm going to go to your phone calls and a bunch of video clips. But I'll get the number out when we come back in the next segment. I intend soon to change the clock. It was 15 years ago, when we started the weekday show. I was doing a weeknight before that, where I said, I don't like stations having to carry brainwashing news, so we'll just have 5 minutes where I do the news or cover stuff, and then we'll have a 3-minute, we'll come in at 8 after. And stations adopt that, but they don't like it. So we're going to leave the whole clock alone, except I got to get around to having it reprogrammed. John Harmon, you should look into that fella running the show right now in Minnesota. We should look at keeping the exact same clock, but I'll just do 3 minutes there until we reprogram it all officially with news. And then come out at 6 after. Don't you think that's the way to go, buddy? Okay, good. Yeah, we'll get that done. And then I am going to, again, get into the veterans. We're just calmly talking about, outside of law, the veterans have their guns taken now. And then anybody else the government wants. But, I mean, that's good. I mean, we don't need any due process anymore. I mean, we have our Peace Prize winner, after all, Dictator Obama. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. The information I have really makes me speechless. I knew it was coming, but it's moving so fast, it just blows us away. They are sending arbitrary letters to veterans telling them they're going to have to turn their guns in. No judge, no jury, no proof. It's just like Rahm Emanuel said when he was White House Chief of Staff. He said, we're just going to put whoever we want on a no-gun-buy list, just like a no-fly list. No judge, no jury. The ATF is ordering gun shops to file criminal reports on people buying guns so that they have some type of probable cause. They're claiming it's criminal to buy 2 or more rifles, or it's suspicious. That's outside of law. It's already on record that they bought rifles, handguns, shotguns, long rifles. They do that because under statutory regulations, when the gun shop reports someone bought the 2 firearms, like it's a criminal report, then the ATF, quote, has to act. And then they put the gun owner in a database, and then they have an excuse to come get the records and then basically register you. And so it's all color of law fraud that's going on. But if you go up to Infowars.com or PrisonPlanet.com, you'll see it linked in red, federal government moves to disarm veterans. And I'm going to cover this, and then I'm going to give the number out. I want to hear from veterans specifically and police on this subject. Veterans, police, active duty only. I want to get your quick take on this. We knew this was coming for a long time. Bill Clinton tried this when he left office back in 1999. almost 90,000, I think it was 87,000 troops were told, well, remember in Vietnam when you collapsed from heat exhaustion? That's now being listed in your file as post-traumatic stress. You can't own guns. No criminal record, grandfathers, you name it. I talked to a famous UT football player, later became a professional football player. He said I could tell the story, but not his name. I was at a birthday party years ago. He told me. A lot of people would know who he is if I said his name. And he went to buy a .22 for his grandson. And they said, you can't buy guns anymore. And he went through the thing with lawyers and everything. They said, Vietnam, you've got a designation and you can't have guns anymore. Doesn't matter if it had been 35, 40 years. This is how this country is now going to be run. Just like last week and also last year, I get a letter saying $1,200 in fees. Somebody put up 3 signs with Infowars.com on them, homemade. You're guilty. And I wrote him a letter back and said, well, what if people put Obama signs up? Do you send him $400 fines per sign? And they wouldn't respond. There's no judge, there's no jury, there's no citation. They say the mayor's office, you can read the letters at Infowars.com, has conducted an investigation, and you will pay, or we will put a warrant out for your arrest. And if you know the law, folks, what they're doing is a hardcore federal and state felony. Color of law, extortion, fraud. Same thing if I dressed up like a cop and came to your house and said, give me $5,000, you're going to jail. Serious felony. Well, when a cop or the government steps out of their bounds, it's an even more serious felony. But Antonio Villaraigosa, sending people letters, you're going to pay us $1,200 or we're going to have you arrested. No judge, no jury, no citation, no grand jury, no indictment, no criminal code, no court, nothing. Just like the NDAA, just like the Patriot Act. That they swore was for al-Qaeda only, and now they go, you know what it is for gun owners, returning veterans, libertarians, conservatives, and born-again Christians. I've got the whole list right here in an incredible article, 14 pages long, by Washington's blog, that is the master of aggregating all the proof. How many rights have Americans really lost? And it goes over 14 pages with links to FBI.gov that's public. And basically every activity is now an act of terrorism. I'm gonna read some of this after I get into this news and take your calls. But here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Federal government moves to disarm veterans. It's no secret the Department of Homeland Security considers returning veterans a threat to the established order. They said as much back in 2009 when they wrote in a special report exposed by Alex Jones and the alternative media. Returning veterans pose combat skills and experience that are attractive to right-wing extremists. DHS INA is concerned that right-wing extremists will attempt to recruit and radicalize veterans in order to boost their violent capabilities. They go on to say they're the #1 threat. Following the case of veteran Brandon Robb, who was abducted for just criticizing Obama and held in a psychiatric ward for Facebook post and government considers subversive, police in Ohio seized a veteran's guns after he was adjudicated to be mentally incompetent despite the fact that a Veterans Administration psychiatric evaluation determined he was not mentally ill. Since the veteran is active in the so-called truth movement or patriot movement, it is assumed involvement in this field is part of a reason why he's been targeted for psychiatric evaluation, Paul Joseph Watson wrote. According to constitutional attorney Michael Connolly, we're going to get on, and he has the official letters, the government is now moving to strip veterans it determines to be mentally incompetent of their Second Amendment right to own firearms. Connolly cites a letter sent by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs to hundreds, perhaps thousands, of America's heroes. You're the enemy of the foreigners that took this country over. A determination of incompetency will prohibit you from purchasing, possessing, receiving, or transporting, this is from the letter, a firearms or ammunition. The VA letter states, if you knowingly violate any of these prohibitions, you will be fined, imprisoned, or both, pursuant to the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act, publication L number 103-159, as implemented under 18 United States Code 924A2. Now, that's a misappropriation of it. When Antonio Villaraigosa, the mayor's office, said, give me $1,200, I'll arrest you, or sue you, or give you a bad credit report, it threatens all three. There's no code, no nothing. So see, it's even a bigger fraud. And again, I've confirmed all over the country, the police show up and say, you can't be building in that barn. Well, I've always lived here. Well, we got horses in there. We say it's condemned. If I see you in there, you're arrested. You go, Well, that's not been adjudicated. That's not been... Listen, you go in there again, I'm going to arrest you. Do you understand? Boy. And see, they're just testing to see what they can do. And again, people are like, why are they doing this? Simultaneously worshiping the veterans. Well, that's to make the establishment look good. Their agenda, they use the veterans like wallpaper on. They package it. It's sugar coating on cyanide pill. Because you can say what you want about these wars. I know the troops. I've never been a hind kisser when it came to the military until I became older and more sophisticated and found out the biggest part of my audience is the military. Because they live in the real world, folks. They see the training for gun confiscation. They know about government lies. And they know I've studied all this, and they respect this show because they realize I know what I'm talking about. They go into classified briefings and hear everything they could see in a video I made 14 years ago because I have all the classified sources. And not just classified sources. Police chiefs like L.A. Philippus, who was in Army intelligence himself, San Antonio police chief, Thomas Sanchez, intelligence in Vietnam, county manager in Kingsville, Texas. They come to him and say, we're training for martial law. He blows the whistle. I mean, I've talked to hundreds of these people. Travis County SWAT team commander. I went and told him what was coming. He laughed at me. I said, all right, here's my card. You call me when they come. Because I knew they'd been going to every major city in Texas. And I looked that they'd been to all the big ones. Next had to be Austin. And I knew about the program. This is a Pentagon infiltration of everything. And it's not our Pentagon. It's foreign run. The Pentagon's over the Rural Affairs Commission now with Homeland Security. And what do they train for? Folks, they have rural affairs meetings that are in the news where they invite all the old farmers and people in at the local hotel, have coffee, donuts for a 2-day event, lunch, everything's provided. And the first day's Al-Qaeda training videos, the first few hours, then they go right into, are your neighbors growing marijuana? Are your neighbors spanking their kids? Are your neighbors criticizing Obama? And these people are videotaping this and putting it on YouTube, freaking out. I mean, imagine being World War II and Korea and Vietnam vets and you want to fight terrorists, which are non-existent, they're run by the globalists. You go to an FBI event and an hour into it, they're bad-mouthing George Washington. And they're there to see how you act. You're being assessed. You didn't know why you got invited to that InfraGard meeting. You're being assessed at a briefing. You're being put in a target sheet. You're being like, hey, well, the FBI wants you to come down and talk to us. They don't do that. Oh, yeah, the church is inviting especially veterans down to meet with the FBI at the local hotel or the local VFW. Lunch is provided. And you get there, and it's like, I'm Captain Johnson, former Special Forces, now assigned to FEMA. We want to talk about the threats to America. Here's Al-Qaeda training videos. You don't like Al-Qaeda, do you? Now, let's talk about the first terrorist. It was George Washington, Thomas Jefferson. Well, there's people like that today, and they say they're not going to go along with inoculation during an emergency or gun confiscation. I mean, I've got these training videos. I put clips of them out in my films, Road to Tyranny. Everybody's sitting there going, what is this? And they're like, and you can see a guy behind the other guy watching. Okay, Tom Jones, Bill Brown just looked like they were upset. I'm going to talk to him during a lunch break. And they're like, hey, Bill Brown, how you doing? So what do you think about this meeting? You're being assessed, folks, like you're in a torture chamber. That's next down the road. I don't like this. I don't like bad-mouthing George Washington. I hear you. I hear you. Well, we won't be needing your help anymore. Thanks a lot. You're targeted as an enemy. They pat you on the butt as you go out. And everybody else like, well, I got a nice flock of useful leaders who'll sit here. And that's why people go, it doesn't make sense. Why are they bad-mouthing George Washington an hour into the meeting? This is universal. To see. And if you don't like George Washington, they go, hey, you're with us now. And like even those guys are like, well, we don't really dislike George Washington behind the scenes. We're just doing that to see if there's extremists because we know they'll get upset by that. You understand, right? And you've just been introduced to hating George Washington. Because you're introduced to the lie of, see, we can say we're against George Washington, but we really aren't against George Washington. You understand? We just stand for everything he stood against. I'm going to get back to the actual manuals and the actual letters to start the Civil War when we come back. Toll-free number to join us. I want to know what you think about this. Veterans, police, and active duty. Do you see the PSYOP? I know you're smart enough to get it. 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. And we got big news next week. Let me break down basically what's happened. They've taken a Soviet Eastern Bloc takeover model, how the Soviets would infiltrate and take down a country from within, and integrated it with Western teaching and how they would try to go into countries and keep them from falling to the Soviets or take them over. But they're going and assessing all the police, all the military, and it's been ongoing for 20 years, but now it's accelerating to the order of 10. And they are going around now finding out locally who is going to not go along with this. And again, they say over-the-top stuff so you'll identify yourself. So police, that's some good intel for you. I'm sure you already knew this. Common sense. If you want to stay on the police force, act like you hate George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. And act like you hate freedom. If you're in an intelligence unit or a special events unit that have been federalized, those special response units, you're not going to get that job unless you just act like a total authoritarian cult member. But they do psychological studies as well. I mean, they really know who is and who isn't. But after they've done that, they're now expanding to the next group of detectives and managers and captains and others. And then they're going to expand, as they've done in L.A. and New York and Chicago, down to beat cops. England's already done this. They are now political enforcers, spying, sitting in restaurants, listening to people. It's all in the news. You'll hear, man arrested for racial comment to his wife. And you're like, well, that's racist. Good arresting. You know, he said something about foreigners. It's the end of free speech. I mean, Michael Savage is banned from entering England because he criticized Muslims. Well, I mean, isn't that the free speech of a European, of a Brit, of an American? Whether you agree with his statement or not, you see, that's just an example of this. And that's what's now coming here. And the magnitude, let me show you up at Infowars.com. If you're a TV viewer, a radio listener, go there. It's federal government moves to disarm vets. And there it is, blown up from page number 2, Department of Veterans Affairs. A determination of incompetence will prohibit you from purchasing, possessing, receiving, or transporting of firearms ammunition. If you knowingly violate any of these prohibitions, you will be fined, imprisoned, or both under the Brady Handgun Prevention Act. Again, now that's the provisions not defeated by Sheriff Richard Mack's suit. That provision stood. Other parts were struck down. We've got to get this repealed because they're now going to implement this. This is if you were adjudicated by a judge and stripped, and that's very hard to do, of your mental faculties, then you would lose your right to keep and bear arms. Now, continuing. They're just people who've always owned guns are having the police show up and say, you know, Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Khan, whatever your last name is, you've got to come out here, and Mr. Smith, and surrender the firearms. And what they do is they mail you a letter a lot of times, and if you don't respond, then they say, okay, we're going to come out to your house. And sometimes they SWAT team you as an intimidation thing and say, see, we SWAT teamed. Have you seen the checkpoints they've set up in New York now where they have license plate readers and they have them flagged to ping, this is admitted, on vets? And it mattered. No criminal record, upstanding, Bronze Star winners. You're arrested. Oh, we got 5 .223 mags in here above 10 rounds. You're like, did the law ban those? Yep, we're charging you with felonies. And the guy's like, why are you throwing the book at me? And they go, we're making an example of you. But I run a local veterans charity group. I have no criminal record. I'm a veteran. You're the target, bud. That's all a cover. The government's your friends, veteran. The NFL's your friends. Everyone loves you. This is not an assault. Tet offensive. Chinese New Year. Go to sleep. We're not going to invade. Boom, they attack at midnight. Just like Waco. You know military tactics, military. They camouflage themselves. They don't announce this. They're like, whoa, the veterans are the bestie. Oh, we love you. Oh, my gosh, take these experimental shots. Oh, you're having organ failure right now? Should have said yes on gun confiscation on that questionnaire. Of course, the doctors compartmentalize. The nurse, the RNs, they don't know. I'm decompartmentalizing this for you. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been obsessed with this, dreaming about it at night for 17. I know the whole game plan. I know it better than the people at the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, because 99% of them are compartmentalized. There are very few people, even in the power structure, that know how this whole thing's meant to go down. It's so complex, I can't even articulate it to you, okay? I'm not bragging about this. I know the whole plan because I've probably read 30 books on the Soviets. I probably read 10 books on the pre-Soviet era. I probably read 15 books on the czars. I probably read 100 books on the Nazis. I probably read 50 books on the Vatican. I've read 25 or more books on British history, on Roman history, on African history. I've read probably over 1,000 history books on these subjects, and I know what the globalists are doing and how they've integrated all these systems of control. You want to start somewhere? Heinz Hobel's Order of the Death's Head, 800 pages long. Read that. You'll be like, this is everything that's happening here. How Hitler had to take out all the secret societies and people. I thought they didn't exist. How the secret societies battle with each other. The whole 9 yards. And again, I'm not trying to paint a bad picture here. I'm trying to show you what's really there. Because it's not a picture I'm painting. It'd be like if a sinkhole formed out back your house 100 feet deep, and you know, I'm your neighbor, and I call him and go, hey, Sam, there's a big hole in your backyard. Watch out when you walk out your back door. You know, Sam's not going to go, how dare you, fearmonger? You're going to be like, wow, really? That's that noise I heard in the night? I better go look into this. I mean, that hole is there. Now, you can debate how deep it is or who made it or how much worse it's going to get, but we're in a lot of trouble. I mean, you add together the 2 billion plus bullets they bought the last year. You add the armored vehicles, the urban warfare training everywhere with the local police helping in the raids. I mean, this is now openly for America, for the American people. Homeland Security announced again this year, yes, the military is going to respond to domestic extremists. Totally illegal. Yes, you know, the Pentagon is over rural affairs. The Pentagon, the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, Northcom. We're a military district now. It's in the Army Times. It's everywhere. And it's wrong. And the people that are awake are actually our military. By and large, because they hear this show and they know what I'm saying is real. And a lot of times they're like, yeah, some of this didn't make sense. Now it all makes sense because I'm not compartmentalized. Because humans act the same. And so many of the systems the globalists are using are Roman, are German, are French, are British, are Russian, are authoritarian models used before, but then overlaid with current technology. Now I'm going to finish up with the news and go right to your calls for Will, Chad, Jim, Tim, Ronald, and Rich. I want to go to you guys quick, make your point. I'm going to go to the next person or I'll never get through it in this hour. It's just all the other news. Yeah, the Blade Runner guy in South Africa, maybe, you know, premeditatedly shooting his wife or girlfriend, whatever. Yeah, that still doesn't matter a hill of beans at the end of the day. Even the imploding economy by design isn't as important as there are giant domestic CIA networks publicly operating everywhere. Jesse Ventura, in the 90s, first day at work, they go, people like to meet with you in the basement of the Capitol. He goes in there, and there's 25 CIA people, old ladies, old men, dressed like old ladies that give you cookies. It's totally illegal. And, you know, my issue is they're not protecting us from al-Qaeda, folks. They run al-Qaeda, and that's now public as well. They use al-Qaeda to take our liberties as a threat, as a boogeyman. It's like your 3-year-old won't stop going in the street. You can say, you know, there's a boogeyman will get you if you do. That's the old way to keep your kids in lines, not to give them weapons, is to tell them wives' tales. You know, a witch will come and get you if you don't do what you're told. Let me tell you, that kid isn't going to be going to the street anymore. Same thing. You give up all your rights to the boogeyman, bin Laden going to get you. You saw what he did on 9/11, didn't you? I mean, come on, folks. Come on, your gut knows 20 Saudis didn't pull all that off. Were there real Saudis here led into the country? Yeah, but the official story's a lie. There was a stand down. That's bare minimum. It was America's Reichstag fire. And you add in all the preparations and paper targets of babies. And people are like, well, that must be what not to shoot. No, it officially says this is Homeland Security requested targets of 5-year-old kids, pregnant women, old men wearing John Deere hats. Folks, how many times have I told you that? I've shot the video. You don't have to believe me. I've got 4 films of urban warfare with the role players wearing overalls, coveralls, mechanic outfits, 49er shirts, cowboy shirts, John Deere hats, AC/DC shirts. They practice to kill us. And it's not saying the troops are bad. They're trying to acclimate them The police, everybody else. And I've got a Jakari Jackson report. He just so happened to be working on a few days ago about this. He's added the latest info to it. That's coming up after we take some calls. But I want to say this. We're an hour and a half into this broadcast, and I know the economy's shutting down and this country's going to hell in a handbasket. But we are one of the best and only hubs out there. There is no... I've said this many times, and they actually say this in Zero Dark 30, because it's true. They walk into the bin Laden unit, and I've actually talked to the real folks in the bin Laden unit who were ordered not to kill him over and over again until he died of natural kidney failure. Colonel Schaefer and others. And Steve Pachenik, former head psychiatrist of Black Ops, for the whole thing. I mean, it's all fake, folks. And one of the subdirectors walks in and goes, listen, there is no other secret team trying to take out bin Laden. This is the only group. We're all that's there. And we're not that good, but we're all that's there. Well, you've heard me say that 100 times. I didn't want to be numero uno. I didn't want to be tip of the spear. But I've got the energy and the will to do it, and we now are the biggest and really one of the only shows really telling it like it is. And it's an incredible position of responsibility, and I'm not on a power trip over it. It's the opposite. I am humbled to my core. And Rich did receive the letter from the VA, and he's in Connecticut. This is out of Washington State, saying, get ready to turn your guns in. Holy Toledo. Man. This is like going to the doctor and they tell you got cancer. I mean, I get a pain, not of fear, but you know that pain when you get the call. One of your kids is hurt. You know, we've all gotten that call at work, and you're like, what is it? I don't know. Your wife says it's serious, and you call, and okay, he busted his head open, but that's not that big of a deal. Thank God it wasn't a car wreck. You know that it's not even a fear. It's more of a oh man, this is serious. That every day now, it's for the country. Oh, man, they really are going to hammer down with Obamacare and shut down all the jobs and tax the poor people. Man, that's hardcore. They really are criminals. It's worse than I thought. You know, it hits you. And I look up there and see Rich, vet, did receive letter, and I get a get that feeling in my stomach, get a chill after that. Like, you know, my whole nervous system is like, danger, Will Robinson, danger. And I know you're feeling that too. And there's a chance we can back these people off, but not if we don't admit how much trouble we're in. Okay, that's the only thing that's going to get this taken care of. We got to pray to God to give us guidance as well, because they can use so many psyops on us. And, point is, I was just in there looking at some of the new equipment, some of the new studios we need to really do first-class news, the uplinks, all the stuff. It costs a lot of money to run this organization. I need more personnel. I need to pay my personnel. I need the equipment. I need to be able to fight as best I can. And that's why it is a war bond for the Republic. When you go to InfoWarsShop.com or InfoWarsStore.com and buy ProPure water filters, they're already the lowest price. But, I mean, just get in. They should be double price, and you should buy them. Bumper stickers, those are sold at cost. The magazine, the T-shirts, the ball caps, the videos, the films, the Alex Jones Everything Special, the New World Order playing deck of cards, educate your friends and family, the ball caps, the Obama shirts, the Second Amendment shirts. It's a war for info. We've got to get in the field. We need to get our mass up in this military operation against the globalists and the info war. InfoWarsStore.com. We need capital. We need capital. And I want to thank everybody that supported us, everybody that's gotten the word out for us, everybody that spread the word about the broadcast, all our affiliates, our sponsors. But even though our audience exponentially grows, revenue in 2013 is down everywhere. I know you see the financial papers as well, so I know it's rough out there. But if the people that are still middle class are wealthy, because I don't want poor people donating or buying stuff, okay? I know it makes you feel good and it's important and you want to be part of the effort, but it's all the tightwads out there that need to get books and videos and Ron Paul books, Father of the Tea Party, and Plundered, and Strategic Relocation, and everything that's available at InfoWarsShop.com, and get it out to people, because this is serious business, folks. If we don't all get aggressive and spend time, energy, and treasure in this fight, we're going to lose it all. I'm willing to lose my life over this thing. I'm not happy about it, I'll assure you. But there is no future if we don't beat them. I know they could even go after my family, and I just, you know, I don't even pray to God to protect my family. Actually, I do sometimes. I mainly just pray, God, whatever your will is, just, help, you know, please help me be more articulate. Please help others wake up. All right, I'm going to go to your calls. I'm pretty shook up right now because I knew it was coming. They announced they were going to do it. And these are not like troops beating their wife or troops that got, you know, caught doing something illegal. Or this is mainline veterans special forces, Navy SEALs, especially special forces. You're the enemy. You're a weapon to be decommissioned. They're moving to robots. They're moving to drones. They don't want you anymore. And they're coming after you. And by the way, the Soviets and the Nazis did this. After Hitler took over about 2 years later, first he called the brown shirts, his own kind of gang that took him to power, against Rome. And then they had Crystal Night. That was against Jews. They had Night of the Long Knives. And then they had other nights that came a few years later. And they were even arresting sergeants from the old Weimar Republic military. And the more decorated you were, the more you were dead. Hitler got so paranoid by the end, he was just whacking everybody. Listen, I'm warning you. The Soviets did the same thing. Mao did the same thing. This is a trap. This is a trap, you fools. All right? I mean, this is evil. You don't want to be signed on to this. Okay, let's stop right there and go to your calls. Rich in Connecticut, a vet, who said he did receive the letter. I'm going to give you our email. It's showtips@infowars.com. All vets, black out your name or cut it out, and then mail us your letters so we can add them and triple confirm all this. Rich, tell us in Connecticut what you got in your response to this, sir.
Basically, when I got the letter from the VA, honestly, I don't really pay attention. I've been a long-time listener. This is my first time calling, so I'm a little bit nervous. Anyway, when I received I don't actually know when I received it.
Back off your phone back off your phone just a bit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The point is, in your pile of stuff, everybody has that problem. In your pile of magazines and junk mail, you found this. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is after I saw the on your website that people were getting this, and I went back through my VA mail. Usually, it's just appointments and stuff like that, and because I'm 100% disabled, because of PTSD, I got this letter stating that I was no longer eligible to possess or purchase.
And by the way, PTSD, some of it is real, but the name from the psychologist I've talked to, it's pretty much, most of it's like saying hyper kids have ADHD. Well, no, they're drinking soda pop and eating junk food all day and bouncing off the walls, sugar crashing. If I give my kids sugar, they act like satanic demons. If I give them healthy food, they act like angels. I mean, if I gave my animals, my dogs sugar, they'd act like maniacs. So the issue is, sir, you need to fight that. And I understand how they set it up. We'll give you money if you say you've got a problem. And I understand combat stress and all that, but I think a lot of it is a hoax. I'm not saying in your case, but please continue.
Well, I'm a Desert Storm veteran. I was a medic with an infantry unit during Desert Storm.
Well, you probably don't have PTSD. You probably you were there when chemical detectors went off then.
Yeah.
Well, you got nerve gas, buddy. You got nerve gas from blowing up Camisea and other facilities. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Basically, I'm not going to comply. I don't give a crap what they say anymore. I'm actually, they give you medication that purposely makes you overweight and everything. I've started taking your longevity products, the Tangy Tangerine and stuff, and that Slim FX, the Slender FX, and I've been losing a lot of weight because of that, and I'm slowly getting off the medication because when I drink the Tangy Tangerine, I don't feel like I need the medication.
I know. When I started taking it a few years ago, I was so undernourished, even though I was eating healthier food. Still, the soils are depleted that I got high off of it for like a month. And I'm drinking some right now. It's funny you brought up Beyond Tangy Tangerine at InfoWarsHealth.com. It's just off the chart. They just had a big Clemson University study about how it kills 95% of cancer cells and leaves the healthy cells alone. I mean, just amazing information. And it's basically got the research of Linus Pauling, the Nobel Prize winner, going into it along with Dr. Wallach's research. And so much of our problems, as I just said with ADHD, is nutritional. Kids are eating white bread, drinking Coca-Cola filled with all sorts of chemicals in it, and speed, caffeine. Of course, you're acting like a demon. But listen, these letters are nebulous. They're like, hey, you may have been ruled incompetent. Well, you're not incompetent. And so, again, they're leaving it color of law. They're seeing if they can get away with this. It's like an employee that starts stealing a little bit out of the cash register. And if they get away with that, a little more, and they finally get caught. So what they're doing is a fraud. So I would consult with legal counsel that represents veterans. Let me ask you this. Do you have a criminal record?
Yes, I do.
Is it a felony?
No.
Well, then that's a non-issue. You've got your Second Amendment. They're fraudulently trying to apply this. Do me a favor. Do you have a scanner to scan that and send it to us?
Yeah, what's the number? Or they'll give it to me after I'm offline.
Sure, we can find. We should have the fax number always at hand, but we do so few faxes. I don't even know if it's hooked up. Let me. Do you want our email address?
Well, can I just send it to one of the editors? Because it's on the website. If I can just send it to one of the editors.
Yeah, I just want to know which. Sure, send it to Kurt Nimmo.
Okay.
It's just show tips. Everybody's reading that, and so it has a better chance of getting seen. I'm telling you, sometimes like some famous person will call me and go, I've been sending emails for 6 months. And then I'll go, what's your email? And I'll search it, and there are all the emails. And it's just torture because we're trying to read it all, but we get like 20,000 emails a day. I'm not exaggerating. And it's very hard to go through them all. But everybody, just send your letters that you've gotten. God bless you, sir. I appreciate your call. Let's talk to Will in Oklahoma, another vet. What do you think about this?
Oh, Alex, this is ridiculous, man. You got guys that serve their country, and then they come back and they have their rights taken away. I'm a Marine vet myself. I served my country for 5 years. I was one of the vets one of the Marines that was being experimented on with the anthrax vaccines and had the evidence to prove it. And then about a year and a half later, they came to my house, the VA did, and I got a letter in the mail saying that they were checking me for incompetence because I get 3 to 4 migraines a week. I have fibromyalgia real bad.
Yeah, stay there. I'm going to hold you over. This is important. For those that don't know, twice they've given the Porton down. No, that's the name of the group in England where they nerve gassed them. It's that Michigan Bioport, the Bioport lab, and it's illegal. The vaccine was experimental, killed a bunch of people, and yeah, that's it. I've had doctors on about it when they did it in 2 different phases, back in the 90s and again one about 95. And they give them the shots. It causes brain damage. And then they call you mentally ill when you go to the VA for your treatment. See, and the VA set up to keep tabs on you. And to basically, it's just horrendous. Stay there. I'm going to come back to you. So, yeah, the guy has migraines. And so they're trying to say he's incompetent because of it. Unbelievable, sir. There are ways to detox. I think I got Ben Fuchs coming up, pharmacist Ben Fuchs. We're going to talk about ways to try to detox vets. You got to get off the medication if I was you as well. I'm not recommending that, but you should look into it. Stay there. You know, a lot of people, I see a comment on Infowars.com, says, Ghost, it's almost time to head down range. Lieutenant, U.S. Navy SEAL 9403. They want you to go down range. They want the war to start. They're going to sit back while the military and police all kill each other. That's what's so diabolical about the following orders of a foreign occupying army, the globalists. The globalists are illegitimate, and they're now just sending letters to veterans all over. The phones are just pouring in, the emails are pouring in, the letters are pouring in from others, where they're being told, yeah, come turn your guns in. And we're just talking to a gentleman in Oklahoma, Will, who's a Marine, who they experimented with the... And I hear him and it hurts me because he's a smart guy, but he's like, I can prove they experimented on me. He probably doesn't even know. It was all over the news at the time when they were doing these. I guess it's 3 rounds they've done. It's totally illegal. And it's always the doctors that end up saying no. At first they court-martial people, and then their lawyers are so dumb they don't know it's illegal to give somebody an experimental shot. You can't make the troops take experimental shots. You can only make them take approved shots. And they use the troops like guinea pigs. And then I've seen them when troops are in wheelchairs with legs blown off and their wife is, you know, a teacher or whatever. The CPS will come and take their kids. We had calls yesterday saying, well, you know, you probably got mental problems too since your legs are blown off. You can't have your 3 kids. And it makes you want to cry that while they're praising troops on the news, they're targeting them. That's official. I'm not just saying that. So, Will, you have migraines, you believe from the anthrax shot, which is exactly what the kind of stuff it does, including death. Tell me what they did when they came to your house trying to say you're incompetent. You know, like you're a 100-year-old person, you know, who doesn't know who they are.
Right. Well, I mean, they basically, when they deemed me a full pension on my 100%, they want to check full, you know, mental capacity and either turn me over to somebody that would handle my money for me and my wife and all this. They even went as far as fact to ask her what type of medication she takes as well.
Oh, yeah, because she's mentally ill now. No. This is standard. Sir, they were casing you to take your kids. You have kids?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, they were trying. Oh. And Alex, I'll tell you what, God bless you, because I really do appreciate everything you're doing, and stand by you 100% on everything you're doing. And a lot of these people that are listening right now, they need to understand that supporting your troops is not buying them a drink, is not buying them food. It's recognizing where your country is going and listening to what your troops have to say and supporting them that way. We don't want you to support us any other way except that way.
Yeah, you don't want a fake pat on the head like you're a dog. And the reason I interrupt so much when you're calling, I've heard the story 1,000 times. I know what you're going to say next. Again, your wife is now mentally ill. See, they want to declare you both incompetent to take your kids. They're preying on you. These are enemy agents with battle plans to destroy your life, and you think they're your friend. When you're there, listen, when I had my kids, I learned the first time. The nurse is like, sir, will you take this file downstairs for me? I'm going to talk to your wife real quick. I'm like, sure, I'll take it down. What, first floor? Yeah, the main nurse? Okay, take your time, honey. And my wife's smart. She goes, man, that lady was putting in a computer, do we have money? Do I beat you? Am I mean to you? And I said to the lady, I said, were you putting that in the health department computer? And she goes, and the nurse had those evil eyes. She goes, how do you know that? And I was like, well, obviously I'm a media person. I know all about this. I know you take blood samples at birth and give it to the government. Well, how do you know about that? That was before that was declassified. And I said, listen, it's none of your business, okay? Is there any outward signs of abuse on my wife? No. You have no probable cause. You haven't read us our rights. This is not a law enforcement action. That woman was totally freaked out. And the next time we had a child, same hospital, because the doctor's a listener, another woman's doing it, and I go, listen, I'm not taking this downstairs. You can do your health department thing. Totally freaked her out. I got glasses, lady. I can see. I know who you are, enemy. In the Soviet systems worldwide and in the Nazi systems, they always use medical tyranny. And the reason I'm jumping in so much when there's a caller like this is I know the story. And now it's accelerating to tell veterans they can't have guns. And it's going to be done with the general public as well. What did Alan Dershowitz say? He said, I believe Alex Jones is mentally ill. He should have his guns taken. I'm afraid of that man. I have no criminal record and almost no misdemeanors. I mean, I'm angry. I'm letting my anger be seen to try to spur you to get angry, to get moving, folks. But we've got Ronald, and we've got Tim, and we've got Jim and Chad. We'll get to all of you, all vets. But, Will, finishing up with you, how did this end? Were they able to get your guns?
Well, no, they weren't. In fact, you know, my wife, she takes medications, but it's none of their business what she takes the medication for. And I explicitly told them that. Even my wife stepped in and said it.
Well, that's why under Obamacare they share it with all the agencies now, so they have all the medical records.
Right. Well, and so anyway, so that, you know, he says, well, we got to put this up for review. And, of course, the guy left and got my letter in the mail later on because I kept receipts of everything that I do as far as I pay my bills. And my main thing why I wanted to call you was to let these vets know that when they're getting out, they need to be very, very vigilant about everything they do. When they pay their bills, they need to keep records of it. They need to...
yeah, because they're going to declare you incompetent. It's like putting you in prison. That's why they wanted to say your wife was incompetent. They want to list you basically as a terrorist. God bless you, sir. I got to jump to the next caller. Good to hear from you, and glad to hear you were smart and on the ball. Yeah, no, they'll take a Navy SEAL or a Green Beret, somebody who was commanding 100 people and on the ball at 1,000% higher than the gibbering you know, VA, generally some weird foreigner, you know, they bring in because they hate Americans or whatever. I mean, it's a stereotype, but it's true. Eastern Europe, you name it, India, nothing against Indians or people from Eastern Europe. They'll just bring in folks. They'll do whatever they're told. And so I've talked to all the VA people about what they witnessed. I hear the same story over and over again. And they're just totally incompetent. They'll cut off the wrong leg, you know, give them the wrong medication. But they're going to come and tell you you're mentally ill. You're incompetent. You're a nobody now. They're a somebody. You're a nobody. Because the truth is they're afraid of people that have actually done things in their lives. They hate men. They hate masculinity. They love tyranny, ladies and gentlemen. They are the scum of the earth. They are the enemies of everything good. Ronald in Texas, you're on the air. Go ahead. Veteran.
Yes, hi. Good evening. Or afternoon, excuse me.
Yeah, you don't know. It is good afternoon. What happened to you? Go ahead.
It's been a long day, let's put it that way. Yeah, I've actually served back in the 80s in the Middle East before we became fashionable. And there was a lot of things that go on that I've seen. And that's one of the reasons why they asked me to re-up, because I was in the Special Forces, ran my own clinic, yada, yada, happy. And I refused to. I seen what was going on, what we were doing to our own allies, to our own people. And that went against everything I swore to protect and uphold on the Constitution.
Have you gotten one of these letters saying you can't own guns?
Not yet, but I haven't checked my mail out today. That's what I was planning on doing.
You know, statistically, if they send these out to, say, 10 million vets, you will get a couple 100,000 that start fighting back. That starts the Civil War right there.
Well, the thing is, what a lot of people don't understand, they keep thinking the veterans are those older people in the military will attack, too, the U.S. citizens. They're not going to. It's going to be those new ones that are currently in, that just re-up or just get into the service, that will have no hesitation about shooting it.
No, the globalists have done the actuaries. They know it's going to be the vets that are going to fight for America, and that's why you're being listed as the enemy.
Oh, exactly. When I went to a VA outpatient clinic in Longview, Texas, the physicians there, they were asking me questions that were idiotic, simply for some pain medication for a back injury I received.
Tell you what, stay there. I got Ben Fuchs coming up. I don't want you to be able to finish up. All right, one of the most popular guests we have on, pharmacist Ben Fuchs, will be joining us here in a few minutes. And I wanted to get him on because I listen to his show some. Comes on Genesis, GCNlive.com, in the hour before we go live at 12 noon every day Eastern. And I want to the biggest health issues we need to be thinking about today. I've got a bunch of news where they're admitting now aspartame's killing you, giving you cancer, giving you type 2 diabetes, the different chemicals that are in the food and water, and victories we're having that when we expose it, they remove it. But we need to expose it first. Why are we falling apart? What can we do about it? What do we need to supplement? I was reading the comments on Infowars.com and the article, Federal Government Moves to Disarm Veterans. And they're in there commenting. We've been talking to them. They go, yeah, I mean, I go in for a sore jaw, and they give me hydrocodone. Or I go in for a hurt foot, and they want to cut the toe off. Or I go in from a car wreck, and they want to put me on Luvox or other serotonin reuptake inhibitors, and then declare me mentally ill. And they advertise to them, we'll get you 100% disability if you agree that you've got PTSD. You're like, well, that sounds pretty good. I guess I kind of deserve a free ride. But it isn't a free ride. Nobody rides for free. Nobody rides for free. We're going to play that at the bottom of the hour. And expanding on all of this, if you just joined us, the big news, federal government moves to disarm veterans. And since I did this, the emails, the calls, it's exploding. We got Brian in PA, did receive letters saying, you don't have any Second Amendment, sucker. You've been declared incompetent. Not you've been declared disabled. And I had vets calling yesterday going, yeah, I'm physically disabled, and they came and took my 3 kids. Because I was in Special Forces. They said I'm dangerous. Of course they are. They want robots they fully control. They're not going to have humans in combat very soon. That's the official model. I have a training video of that with the Air Force showing it. I mean, that's their plan. Whether it works or not, I don't know. And so they're going to tell you they love you while they try to shoot you up with deadly drugs and soft kill your butt. And I really think they've miscalculated. But you notice all the dramas and TV shows with the veterans of the new terrorists and the training manuals and all of it? This is a really bad federal government run by foreign banks. And that's actually in the news again today, the new bubble, and it's the bond bubble. And central banks are scared, just like Max Kaiser said. I hope he isn't right. As bad as this system is, when it blows up, they're just going to grab more power and call for a Bank of the World, as they were doing again yesterday. And what funds it? Carbon taxes. And what's the new Secretary of State, Kerry, say in his first speech 2 days ago? We need that carbon tax to save the earth. A global tax you pay on everything. It's a value-added, right down for the entire chain. And then on other key items, gas, fuel, electricity, coal, plastics, beef, everything with petroleum in it, just hundreds of new taxes. Hundreds, just an absolute straitjacket on our economy. Now, there it is. Kerry exploits Obamacare passage to propose carbon tax. And that's from 2-3 years ago, but now he's the new Secretary of State, and that's what he's pushing. Wow. So I wanted to have that caller, Ronald in Texas, finish. He was saying he went into the VA over, I forget what he said, and then they were asking him some really crazy questions. Oh, they're not crazy questions. It's like when you go in to have a baby now, no criminal record, you're paying tens of thousands of dollars, you're at the hospital, your wife's water's broke. This happens nationwide, globally. If you're in Australia, it happens. There's a computer hooked in, wired into the health department. It's really the race hygiene department, set up in England back in the 1870s and 80s, here in about 1900, 1910. Race hygiene department. They used to have courts where they would just, no jury, they would just take you and sterilize you if they felt like it. They really still have those behind the scenes, but it's not as prolific because people fought back against it. And again, you're there having your baby, and they're like, would you mind taking this, to the first floor, as I said earlier, and you take your file down there, and they're like, honey, how you doing on money? Doing all right? I'm your friend. Get ready? You get to have that baby. I'm your friend. How's he treating you? And it's like, oh, he's a jerk. We had a big fight. Oh, your kids are gone. Of course, you're not telling you that. It's like your friend. Oh, your water broke, sweetie. How much money you got? You doing all right on money? If you say you got money troubles, your kids are gone. And they're lawless crooks. You understand that? They take your blood, they put it in the Pentagon database, your newborn baby. They sell it to big corporations who patent your DNA. 20 years later, you go to have a surgery and a DNA transfusion, and they go, sorry, it's going to be $115,000. Gene Corps, whatever the name of the company is, they own your DNA. It's all just a hardcore savage mafia with a liberal face. Oh, we're sweet. Oh, we love you. It's all camouflage. Oh, we're here to help you. Be reasonable. Work with us. We want to help you, on and on and on and on and on. Finishing with the caller and then pharmacist Ben Fuchs and more calls. We're going to race through a bunch of stuff with Ben here today. But Ronald, finish your story. So you go into the VA for what, and what happens?
I was injured in the Special Forces. And here, I went in for my yearly checkup. I also went in to get my prescription for non-narcotic pain pills, i.e. Tylenol. It's cheaper than being on disability, $700 a month. It's kind of expensive to live. Anyways, they were doing a psych eval to the point of I had less psychological eval questions given to me when I had a top secret clearance than what they were asking. Everything from, do I believe in homosexual marriage? Have I ever had homosexual incidents in the military? Yada, yada, on and on and on. Well, if you have PTSD, I said, I don't. But you served in combat. And you're not stressed out? No. Why should I be? We can get you. I said, no. And it got to the point where the doctor tried to humiliate me in the public room saying, oh, well, I think you have tertiary syphilis. I said, no, I don't. I said,
no, their job is to bully you into agreeing and going on medication so all your rights go out the window. It is a medical mafia out of control.
Yes, when I worked in the hospital at Walter Reed, I was dressed in my whites. I actually had one of the pharmacy corporations come up and offer me a car, a house, a boat, because he thought I was a doctor.
No, same deal. They're like, listen, you've done a really good job. Here's your free European trip, your free cruise, and a free car.
And that's how they bribe these doctors.
Listen, Richard told me he went and saw a movie called Side Effects, and the whole thing is how the Prozac drugs really aren't hurting people. people are using that as a cover to kill people. And it's all just funded by these people. God bless you, sir. Good to hear from you. Pharmacist Ben Fuchs, I wanted to intro that. They're now sending veterans everywhere letters saying no more gun rights for you. No judge, no jury. They're not even been designated as mentally ill. You just heard that bullying story. Last hour, a guy called in saying, I had PTSD, but I started taking Beyond Tangy Tangerine, and now I'm not freaking out. Well, it wasn't PTSD. It's like, you know, all these behavioral problems, the ADHD, you get the kids off red dye and sugar and candy and nerds candy and white bread, and they suddenly get good food. And, I mean, if I give my kids processed sugar, we're out at an event, okay, birthday party, have a piece of cake, they're a demon the rest of the day. Don't ever give them cakes and stuff and processed stuff, they're angels. I mean, it is like clockwork. ADHD, give them speed to burn their brain out. Give them serotonin reuptake inhibitors. I mean, what do you think from what you just heard? Again, you are a natural drug formulator, compounding pharmacist. Before that, a mainline pharmacist. One of the most successful there in Colorado. Ben Fuchs, introduced him for those that don't know who he is. He works and advises us at InfoWarsHealth.com or InfoWarsTeam.com. But what did you just think of what you just heard?
There's so many ways you can go with this. First of all, post-traumatic stress syndrome is something that we're all dealing with because we're all being traumatized and we all have stress. And even though, according to the World Health Organization, there's 12,000 different diseases, there's really only one disease, and that is the disease of traumatic stress. And what our veterans are experiencing are an exaggerated version of what we're all experiencing, which is why the single most important strategy for restoring yourself back to health and wellness is to tell the body via nutritional supplementation, via oxygenation, via correct foods, via detoxification, to tell the body that all is okay, that all is right in the world. When the body perceives that it is under stress, that there is a trauma, there's a trauma that's occurring, it will begin to shut down growth processes, healing processes, and repair processes. And if we wanted to design a society that was systematically, specifically set up to cause stress and trauma and shut down the growth and repair system, we couldn't do a better job if we tried to do it intentionally, and we very well might be doing it intentionally. Fluoride in the water, preservatives in foods, excitotoxins, processed foods, processed breads and grains, purified sugars, these all exacerbate the stress response in the body. And when the body is under stress, it doesn't do its best work. It doesn't heal. It doesn't
Well, let's start with this. What would you do with vets that they've got on serotonin reuptake inhibitors, who've not eaten good food, who are on $700 a month, all these special forces heroes who the government hates so much, but says they're heroes all day? What would you begin to do if you were one of those guys?
First and foremost, I would have these people activating their relaxation chemistry. The body's got two kinds of chemistry. It's got relaxation chemistry and it has stress chemistry. And for the vast majority of our chemistry needs to be in the relaxation mode. The stress mode is only for emergencies. So we got to figure out, not just for our vets, for all of us, we have to figure out how to access this relaxation chemistry. And the good news is it's not expensive. The good news is you can do it for free.
But the system won't tell you. They overdrive and they get into a stress economy. We all do it, especially professionals, and then they can never get out of it. You've got to learn how to get into a joking economy. That's why I do that sometimes. You've got to learn to go out and have fun as well, and they don't want people to know there's a cure.
I'll tell you one of the simplest, easiest ways to activate relaxation chemistry. The biggest emergency to the body is lack of oxygen. It's technically called hypoxia, low levels of oxygen. When the body gets low levels of oxygen, it feels like its death is imminent.
Anytime I get down, I just go out and climb a mountain.
Something as simple as exercise and deep breathing techniques can send the message, the biochemical message to the body that all is right in the world, and can begin to activate the relaxation response and the healing and growth and repair response. For folks who are dealing with PTSD, just experiment, try this. Deep breathing techniques for 60 seconds. It won't cost you anything, and in 60 seconds, your blood pressure will drop, your blood will start to thin, you'll get more nutrients to your organs and to your tissues.
Let's all deep breathe during the break. Let's do it. I'm serious, folks. Let's all deep breathe. The New World Order hates it. We'll be right back. Nope, that's why under the name of liberalism, they promote nothing but racial division on MSNBC and CNN. All they want us to do is go on killing one another. Coming up in the next segment, I'm going to hit a few news stories before we go back to Ben Fuchs and your calls. Like Obama administration moves forward on climate change without Congress. That means shutting down our power plants and not letting new ones be opened. when you take over a country like in World War II that you fly in and bomb the power plants. I mean, this is, folks, they're going to make you poor. They're going to make you go on government assistance so they can run your life like these veterans. And it is just, and I see the first commenter in this article in U.S. News and World Report that's linked on Drudge. How stupid is it to kill off the energy source without a replacement? Liberals never see the big picture when it has to do with technology and numbers. No, it's not about not seeing the big picture. They're not liberals. The globalists have all moved their investments to China, who has no standards. They're increasing the value of their investments by shutting us down. Just like General Electric gets waivers on all this domestically, they can have new plants and expand old plants and put out all the CO2 they want, but everybody else has to cut it in half, which is impossible. I'm sorry, Ben Fuchs, going back to you, brother. So for vets out there, and then we'll get into all this other news, breathing exercises, basic exercise, not eating MSG, not eating aspartame. I mean, just the whole society's falling apart. It's all coming out, even CBS News. Oh, aspartame does give you diabetes. You were talking about that on the show a month ago, Ben.
You know, here's the idea. There's this notion that to take care of yourself and to stay healthy, it's going to cost you a lot of money. It's going to take a lot of work. The message that I want people to understand is it is simple and easy to restore your body back to health because it's in the body's nature to heal. Every time you cut yourself, you are witness to this healing process. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to take any special potions. You don't need any prescription drugs. The skin just does its duty. It heals itself. When you break a bone, a place where you broke it is stronger after it heals than it was before it broke. Not only is it in the body's nature to heal itself, it's in the body's nature to get stronger when it is under certain amounts of stress. This is how exercise works.
Now they're trying to get rid of vaginal birth. Someday it'll be a conspiracy that women ever had babies, period. They'll be grown in tanks.
Let me tell you about the disaster of cesarean sections. When a baby is born, he is coated with bacteria, and that bacteria become that baby's personal microbiome for producing vitamins and detoxifying food and processing anything that the kid eats for the rest of his life. A baby that's born non-vaginally through cesarean section is going to be compromised at the digestive system level for life. He's going to be running higher risks for degenerative disease, and this is a baby that's going to be forced to interact with the medical
And they don't want him getting the colostrum that is every immunity the woman and her entire genetic line had, an entire vaccination all the way back to the beginning of humanity. Don't get that either.
That's right. And how many mothers are told to give their babies formula because there's not enough nutrients in breast milk? I just got a Facebook message from a guy who said just that. He went to the doctor. The doctor said, well, breast milk's okay, but there's not enough nutrients in it. We need to give you a B12 and we need to give your baby a B12 and fluoride injection. Folks, this is not only stupidity and bad science and bad biochemistry. It's killing us. It's costing us our quality of life. It's so tragic and it's so unnecessary. If you do things like, number one, practice deep breathing. Number two, get on a nutritional supplement program. Number three, not interacting with the corporate domesticating food, the food that gets us fat and the food that keeps us dumb and stupid. Simple things like that can restore ourselves back to health because it's the way the body is constructed. It's the divine force at work, and it doesn't need our help. It simply needs raw materials to do its work.
Amazing. Now, my neck, my face, my arms, my legs have all gotten smaller, but I don't follow the whole InfoWarsHealth.com longevity program. I'm trying to. My belly has stayed the same size, and a lot of evidence is I guess I'm still eating gluten, and I guess I've got the wheat belly.
You know, it's a stress response that we're talking about. To the body, there's only two kinds of stresses, Alex. There's the stress of being eaten by a saber-toothed tiger or a lion, and there's the stress of starvation. So what the body will do when it's under stress, and it doesn't know that there's stress from the government and stress from the IRS and stress from our families and stress from our foods. It just thinks we're going to be eaten by a tiger or we're going to starve. So number one, it will send us out on a one-pointed hunt for food, and it'll put that food on our bellies. It'll store it as fat, and it won't allow us to lose it. Lose that fat because it thinks a famine is about to approach. Number two, it's going to activate the chemistry that will protect us from being eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. Number one, it's going to divert blood from the digestive system and from the brain into the legs so that we can run. And number two, it's going to clot the blood and it's going to cause hypertension so we don't bleed to death. And when you think about it, all of the diseases that we're suffering from, all the degenerative diseases that we're suffering from are the result of lack of circulation, stagnation, blood clotting, obesity, and oh, by the way, you can throw in a shrinking of the brain, the intellectual centers of the brain, and a slowing down of the immune system.
There was a big study on that, geneticists, where the IQ is dropping across the world.
No surprise, Alex.
Stay there. We're back live. Our guest is pharmacist Ben Fuchs. You can find all of the longevity products that are the very best at the lowest prices at InfoWarsHealth.com. There's also phone numbers there if you want to call and ask any questions. You can sign up for auto shipping and get free shipping. That's very important to do, and it's all up there. The Pollen Burst Plus, the Beyond Tangerine, the Osteo FX, and 300-plus other amazing products in the catalog area of InfoWarsHealth.com. That's InfoWarsHealth.com. Or you can also go to InfoWarsTeam.com and sign up there to be a distributor. That's InfoWarsTeam.com. Okay, Ben, break down then for the average person who tries to stay away from the GMO. Well, I mean, the general public's eating GMO, aspartame, artificial sweeteners. The McDonald's food and others has the silicone in it. I mean, what they can get away with putting in food. All this is out there now. Our longevity's dropping. The cancer is exploding, the diabetes, all of this, and society's falling apart. What would you begin with? I'm going to give you the floor right now for the next 10 minutes before we go to calls and news. What would you go through? What are our biggest health issues, and what exactly is wrong with the medical model? Why are we falling apart? What can we do about it? Why do we need to supplement? What does weight loss occur as a byproduct of supplementation? What is the problem with fluoride? You've got the floor.
All right, the biggest problem that we're dealing with is what you've been talking about for the last couple of hours, this idea of post-traumatic stress syndrome. Post-traumatic stress syndrome simply means that we're stressed after trauma. From birth forward, the human body is attacked with things like fluoride in the water, excitotoxins in the food, nutritionally deficient foods, sugar, et cetera, not to mention pharmaceutical drugs and deadly medical procedures. It makes perfect sense that we would all be dealing with a type of post-traumatic stress. So the first and most important thing we can do if we're dealing with a degenerative disease or to prevent degenerative disease is to figure out how to tell the body that we are safe, that everything is okay from a survival standpoint. And the first thing you need to do, or we need to do, is understand the breathing processes we talked about before. The biggest emergency to the body from a physical standpoint is lack of oxygen. Over time, as we are bombarded with stress, we begin to contract our body, and by the time we're in our 20s or 30s, we're filled with these microscopic little contractions that are pools of hypoxia, pools of low oxygen, and these pools of low oxygen accumulate, and the body over time believes that it's about to die. So the first and most important thing we can do to activate the body's relaxation chemistry, healing chemistry, built-in healing chemistry, is to deep breathe and to blow off carbon dioxide. Now, I don't want to beat this to death, but that's probably the single most important thing we can do. The second most important thing we can do is to figure out how to eat less calories and get more nutrients. The average American diet is the exact opposite. It's more calories and less nutrients. And you and I have talked about this before. When the body gets calories without nutrients, it continues being hungry. We have a shutoff center in our brain, an appetite suppressant center in our brain. And this appetite suppressant center in the brain is dependent on nutrients and protein, and to a certain extent fats as well. So making sure that you're getting enough protein, making sure you're getting enough fats in the form of essential fatty acids and saturated fats, by the way, like coconut oil, and making sure that you're getting enough micronutrients is the second most important strategy that you can use. And not only is it an important strategy for helping turn on the relaxation chemistry, but it's a wonderful strategy for building your immune system and allowing your body to lose weight naturally. In fact, as you know, one of the most common effects of nutritional supplementation with the Beyond Tangy Tangerine and the longevity products is weight loss. And we don't even talk about weight loss as being a benefit from using the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. It's just a natural effect of nutritional supplementation. The third most important strategy that we can use is to refuse to interact with the corporate machine that could care less about our health. Your doctor, the medical model, the corporate medical model, corporate food, these people have could care less whether we live or die as long as they extract our money, to refuse to interact with the McDonald's of the world, the Taco Bells of the world, the Kaisers of the world. To refuse to participate in their scam is the third most important strategy that we can use. And let me tell you something. When we drive, pass by McDonald's, we don't want to be driving through. We want to be driving by, and as we're driving by, we want to be giving them the finger because they are truly the enemy of humanity. And if we participate in eating the fast food and eating the corporate swill and not supplementing using a nutritional supplement program, we are complicit in our own demise. The third thing, drink more water, clean water, filtered water, and stay away from toxic fluoride, whether it's in the form of toothpaste or whether it's in the form of drinking water. One of the most insidious ways that we pollute, humanity is being polluted, is by fluoride in the drinking water for babies. If you go to Walgreens or these Rite Aid, these drugstores and convenience stores, you'll find nursery water, which is packed with fluoride. How a mother can voluntarily give their baby toxic fluoride in light of
I got to stop you on this because you're nice and say they may be doing it on purpose. They're eugenicists. I've got all the globalists bragging how we deserve it. The Journal of Pediatrics, the American Medical Association, the American Dental Association were forced 6 years ago to say that under 5 should not drink fluoride and should not brush with fluoride because they had to admit the cancer and the dental fluorosis. It is a fact that it reduces IQ. It is, and they put huge amounts, like 3 or 4 parts per million in that, and we forced them, last year to finally cut it from 1.3 to 0.7 parts per, million or billion. They had to cut basically in half the amount, or a little bit more than half, of what they put in the water, and they're banning it as a pesticide now because it bioaccumulates. I mean, this is the ultimate hoax. This chemical weapon in the hydrofluorosilicic acid range, which makes the sodium fluoride, which you do need a tiny amount of, hyper-poisonous and cumulative and stick in your bones. I mean, come on, pharmacist Ben Fuchs, that's on purpose.
Well, you know, one of the best ways to protect ourselves from fluoride is to make sure you're getting enough nutritional supplements, especially iodine, especially vitamin C, and especially vitamin E. And by the way, this whole notion of iodized salt and all we need is a tiny little bit of iodine in our salt and we won't get goiter is another health scam that does disservice to the human race. Iodine is not just a thyroid hormone, it's a critical hormone for the pineal gland, which is like a fluoride vacuum cleaner. If you're getting fluoride and you're giving your kids fluoride and you're not getting enough iodine, you are guaranteeing that your pineal gland will be shrunken and atrophied like an old man by the time you're 10, by the time you or your kid is 10 or 12 years old. So making sure that you're taking care of nutritional supplements is once again one of the best ways to protect yourself against toxicity. By the way, when it comes to water, there's not just fluoride in the water, Alex. There's measurable amounts of cardiovascular medications, of calcium channel blockers, and of antidepressants in the water, and other psychotropic medications in the water. I was just reading an article this morning that talked about fish having autism genes turned on by swimming in water that has antipsychotic and antidepressant medication in it. Literally, fish have genes, autism genes, and those genes get turned on by having the fish swimming in antidepressant-laden water. And this is the kind of stuff that we're drinking. Not to mention if you go ahead and voluntarily take an antidepressant or an antipsychotic drug. And this whole idea, by the way, of Prozac and serotonin reuptake inhibitors is one of the biggest scandals in a whole litany of scandals.
Let me stop you for just a moment because this is so incredible. Last week, Melissa Melton on the Nightly News covered the London Guardian, big studies, headline, fish committing suicide because of serotonin reuptake inhibitors in the water. They will swim right up to bigger fish and be eaten. They will swim right up into people's nets. And what did they report 5 years ago in a federal study? Shrimp committing suicide because of Prozac. Prozac-type drugs. But here's the deal. They're finding a generic form of Prozac in water supplies at levels higher than it should be even for runoff, Ben. They're jacking the water with Prozac. There it is. Pharmacological waste runoff causing shrimp and other marine life to commit suicide. Now, that's from 2012. You guys have got to pull up. I remember the exact headline. It was something like fish committing suicide on Prozac. I mean, of course. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You hit the nail on the head with those two words. Of course, we cannot expect anything to be different. Look, if you're on a prescription medication, if anybody out there is on a prescription medication, take that medication and instead of swallowing it, chew it. Let that medication hit your taste buds and your tongue. It will taste like the most toxic, repulsive poison you could ever imagine. And the reason is, it is the most toxic, repulsive poison that you could ever imagine. And the fact that you're taking it in small enough doses that you don't notice a big-time emergency poison response doesn't make that stuff less poisonous. How can we have a healthcare system manned by healthcare professionals who are sworn to do no harm that lives and subsists and does its work by poisoning people purportedly back to health? Where does this notion come from that we can pharmaceuticalize ourselves back to health and wellness? Alex, the word pharmaceutical itself, pharmaco, comes from the root word for what? Poison. You're literally, if we are taking these medications, and there's 4 billion of them, prescriptions served every year, annually in this country alone, and untold billions around the world, if we voluntarily participate in taking these poisons, we are complicit in our own demise. And folks, let me tell you something, nutrients are what drugs dream they could be. When a drug goes to bed at night and has a fantasy, it fantasizes it's vitamin C or vitamin E or vitamin A because these substances have the medicinal properties of the pharmaceutical agents with zero toxicity, zippo, zero. They keep trying to find people who die or have some kind of toxic response to nutrients, and they can't find them because it never happens. Yet we want to have more and more regulation on nutrients. We want to have, in the coming years, we probably will have, doctors tell us what kind and how much vitamins and nutrients we could take. And let me tell you something.
That's what they're pushing through the whole UN deal. That's official.
The whole Codex thing. That's exactly right. And in some countries, it's already started. In Germany and in Canada and in France, you can only get small amounts of vitamin C. You can only get small amounts of vitamin A. And if you want more, you got to have a doctor officially write you a prescription. And while we're on the subject...
Oh, yeah, Merck's now coming out just a few days ago officially saying you don't just need vaccines to be mandatory. Everyone needs to be on antidepressants. I mean, there's no end to the cuckoo-ness of these people.
It's cuckoo, right? It's absolutely nuts. But you know what, Alex? We have to take responsibility for our own health. We have to cease and desist from this abdication of responsibility for our health and wellness. I
agree. Where should people start? Obvious plug. We sell what we believe in. You're purchasing great products at InfoWarsHealth.com and InfoWarsTeam.com that Ben has worked on and is advising us on. Helps fund our operation. What products should people start out with?
Alex,
yeah.
Let me ask you a simple question. How many people have you talked to in the last 2 years or 2.5 years that you've been doing this that have told you that they got on the BTT and their life changed? How many people? All right? I've been hearing it since 1997.
I don't even call for it on air, and we had a guy calling today about it.
It happens all the time. They lose weight. They feel better. They're off their medication. I can't tell you how many letters I've got from people who said that they started the Beyond Tangy Tangerine and they're off their medication. And that's just one product. If you want to just see for yourself, you're a little skeptical, and I like people who are skeptical. I'm skeptical myself. Get yourself on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Go to InfoWarsHealth.com. Check it out for yourself. If you're like most people, you will notice results in 1 or 2 doses.
Absolutely. InfoWarsHealth.com. You can also call 888-789-9277. That's 888-789-9277, 888-789-9277. I want to go back to in the next segment and go to Brian, a vet who did receive letters saying he can't have his guns, and Chad and Jim and a few others who are holding patiently. We will get to you, gentlemen, so thank you for holding. And sorry it's taken so long, but we had a lot of calls to get to. You can also get all of Dr. Wallach's books available at InfoWarsStore.com. Dead Doctors Don't Lie, Hell's Kitchen, Immortality, and Let's Play Doctor. All of those at InfoWarsShop.com or InfoWarsStore.com. Or sign up and get auto ship and get free shipping. That's a huge deal on the longevity products at InfoWarsHealth.com. That's the place to get free shipping. Sign up and become a distributor and get big discounts. You can be a distributor for $10, like getting a Costco card. And it is huge discounts, all available at InfoWarsHealth.com. But let me hit a few news items before we go to break, and we'll come back with pharmacist Ben Fuchs on the other side. I promised to do this. So let's go over some of these headlines here. Papal resignation linked to inquiry into Vatican gay officials, says paper. Yeah, and pedophilia, folks. Pope staff declined to confirm or deny Republica claims linking Vatican links affair and discovery of blackmailed gay clergy. Yeah, that's how they control and manipulate things. Health of Hugo Chavez not improving, Venezuelan government indicates. Russian meteorite fragments seized from local man trying to sell them online. I thought under common law, even in Russia, that would be your property. Government. People find dinosaur bones on their own property, and government comes and steals them now. Berlusconi's last throw of the dice in Italian election. What a gangster. Public schools installing panic buttons. Instead of getting teachers who can be armed with a concealed carry, teachers are going to kill people. They're going to come there with a gun anyways. Instead of that, no. They're going to put panic buttons in so you can all crouch down when there's a shooter and hit the panic button and hope the police get there in 10 minutes. So basically learn how to die. Maybe you can learn how to stand up and put a red spray paint on yourself. Detroit tops 2013 list of America's most miserable cities. Now, that's NAFTA and GATT and deindustrialization. But Obama says it's good to bulldoze half the city. It's for the earth. Rewilding, but not in China where the globalists have their investments. Philadelphia chef plans to introduce horse meat to menu at popular Sicilian restaurant. Again, everybody's obsessing over fake fish that isn't fish or is a different fish or not getting real beef. Yeah, that's horrible. But that's nothing compared to bromine and Gatorade or aspartame in 10,000 plus products just in major studies. Why is diabetes up 3,000–4,000% in Hispanics? Something like 500% in whites, about 1,000% in blacks. Folks, I mean, there are genetic differences in different groups of humans. We're all the same race, but there's different variances. Just like whatever it is with the Asians that cross the Bering Strait land bridge, that's what Mesoamericans are, is we're Asians, or basically like Huns that cross. The point is that it's the same thing. Genetically, Asians, especially Native Americans, that strain cannot drink like other ethnic groups. Well, it's the same thing. Wood alcohol absolutely devastates Asians. And the North American, South American, Central American variant. And so that's what I've told you. If you're Hispanic, which is Spanish, North African / Asian mix, you never want to touch aspartame. All right, here's how this works. For about 12 years, I did 3 hours of radio, 11 to 2 Central, 12 noon to 3 p.m. Eastern. And then I always had more to cover, so for about 3 years, I did a 4th hour. And then I did that 4th hour for a couple of years. I started doing the nightly news and trying to manage all these things, and it was taking all my energy, so I cut back the 4th hour, but still stations were carrying it, and so I started, still doing it part of the time, or at least part of it. And XM, so we can't carry 4 hours, we'll carry your 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Well, really, that's not the live hour, so XM figured that out and said, well, we'll try to figure out how to pick up your 1st hour now at 11 a.m., but that hasn't happened yet. So people need to let XM know you're subscribing on 166 to be able to hear this show, and that you want to hear the 1st hour. But a lot of our affiliates do carry the 4th hour because they can't carry the 1st because of shows they already have. So it's the 1st hour, a lot of times the best, my most focused and cogent, is then re-aired in the 4th hour most days. But a lot of days I go into that 4th hour. It's kind of a specialty hour. I'm going to have Ben Fuchs, because the guy's amazing, and he really knows his stuff, cover the gut, the heart, the skin, the serotonin reuptake inhibitors first. I'm going to let him have the floor at about 10 minutes into the next hour. I'll introduce him and stuff and let him roll. And then if he wants to take calls or something, too, he could do that. I've got some vets that are holding right now, so let's get to them. A vet named Brian in Pennsylvania said he did receive the letters. Again, if you just joined us, the vets are being told, no judge, no jury. If you have a disability, even if it's physical, we're going to take your kids. That's already starting. The CPS is. And they try to say that your wife's disabled so they can take them and not even let your family have them. So they're targeting the vets in a criminal purge. This is like Jews disappearing, and it's like, well, they deserve it or whatever. They're targeting the veterans. That's normally what communists do. I mean, this has happened all over the world. So, Brian, bad news here. It's all up at Infowars.com. We've got to have this story and these letters that we've confirmed go viral. They're just saying, hey, you don't have a Second Amendment anymore, as Rahm Emanuel promised. Tell us what happened to you, Brian.
I'm a 20-year Marine Corps vet, Iraqi war veteran. After I came back, I had a few issues. I assaulted another Marine and things like that. They put me on crazy amounts of drugs and drug combinations, where I was thinking crazier things than even when I was deployed.
Think about John Wayne, you know, his character. But, I mean, I got in a lot of fights growing up. It's not mentally ill to get in people's fights. That's normal. But, oh, they put you on drugs to then say you have no rights. Go ahead.
Yeah, and after I was diagnosed with a head injury because I worked in explosives for the entire 20 years that I was in the Marine Corps, all of a sudden I was no longer competent to handle my finances. I was no longer competent to have weapons. They actually were withholding about $50,000 in back pay that they owed me for my until my wife signed over. I had to sign my financial rights over to my wife.
Yeah, they're criminals. You need to go get regular, real doctors to say that's not true and go to court. Okay, the VA is a criminal, anti-American organization that is horrible on purpose. It's always been there to destroy our troops. They've always had trouble with troops after a war. The truth is the government's always hated the troops. They've always hated the troops. They've always hated the troops. Unbelievable. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, Alex. Hey, I agree with everything you're saying. Keep doing what you're doing.
God bless you. All right, fourth hour with Ben Fuchs. More calls coming up. All right, it's a full fourth hour of global transmission. There's a lot of stuff we can't do much about. But being healthy is something we can. And I know the last 2 years, I lost up to 45 pounds. Didn't follow all of it for a while. Gained about 15 back, but I'm back on a regimen. I feel great. I can work longer. I tan easier. I always heard Ben Fuchs talk about once you're on the different longevity products at InfoWarsHealth.com, less sun tans you better. And now, I'm a sun worshiper. I mean, sun makes me feel great. Like maybe when he comes back in the next segment, we're going to Ben Fuchs. He's going to co-host the hour. In fact, I'm going to turn it over to him. He can talk about why I can be depressed. They call that mentally ill. I shouldn't be able to own guns. I don't call it depressed. The other night, I worked till about 10 at night. I felt like I'd been run over, and it was the end of the world driving home. And I woke up the next morning feeling like I'd come out of a Cracker Jack box, you know, like the Jack in the Box. I felt great, popping out of the top. It's normal. You know, they ask school kids, do you feel depressed ever? Do you ever get anxious? Well, you need to go on drugs. That's normal. It's normal to learn how to deal with that stuff. I used to have so much anxiety as a kid, and even as a teenager. Now I wish I had more anxiety sometimes. I'm totally calm about stuff behind the scenes, really big, dangerous stuff. I've just learned to just deal with it. That's part of becoming seasoned and becoming an adult. They want arrested development. Let's go to the troops, the veterans, about the official letters being sent out. It appears to most veterans saying you can no longer own guns. No judge, no jury. You are incompetent. You are no longer a person. Jim in Florida, what's your quick take on this? Thanks for holding.
Yeah, how you doing, Alex? Good to talk to you, brother. I've been with you since day one, and I'm a subscriber. I support everything you do, and I just want to give a message to the American public. It is not going to happen.
Well, every veteran I talk to, and they're public as well, they're not turning their guns in. They're saying, fine, you want a war, get one.
Yeah, I'm disabled 100%. I'm a Marine, and I served in Vietnam, and that was my wake-up call. And I've been with you and everybody else since I came back from Vietnam, you know, doing my part. So I go out and I have people that approach me and tell me their life story that they should never tell anybody, okay? And like I say, the message is it's not going to happen, and I want people out here, everything Alex tells you is the truth. okay? And you better all pay attention and get up off your thing and get involved in the fight. Burn DVDs, pass them out, mail them out, use that email, and get in this fight for your freedoms, because nobody in their right mind is going to relinquish their freedoms that we fought for, especially the veterans. And thank you and your crew and everybody that you have come on your show, and we pray for you and your family every day.
Wow, that's humbling. Man, that brings a tear to my eye. God bless you, Jim. Thank you for the call. We'll have to go to break, jam in one more after that from Chad. And then then we got calls for Ben Fuchs after that he'll be able to go to after he covers some news. 800-259-9231. One more call from Chad, a 2-minute report by Jakari Jackson on the veterans, and then I'm going to turn over the next 50 minutes roughly or so, 45 minutes, to Ben Fuchs, because this medical stuff is important. And we're talking about stuff we're selling as well. That's only part of it, but that's what funds us, so InfoWarsHealth.com. See, that's why I interrupt sometimes when somebody's talking, because I'll know they don't know the stuff I know, and it's frustrating. I want to go, let me guess, and then this happened. Yeah, how'd you know? Because the globalists are following handbooks. Somebody can call me from England or Australia or Germany of what they're going through with government, and I go, and let me guess, then this happened. They're like, yeah, how do you know that? Because it's not hard. It's a playbook. It's a manual. It's standard operating procedure. And they're trying to demonize the veterans. It just proves how criminal these people are. And we don't want this civil war to take place. By the way, the globalists are still going forward with their plans, but they're losing right now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're into the 4th hour here. If you look at Infowars.com, we've got the headline, Temporary Tattoos Could Make Electronic Telepathy and Telekinesis Possible. And you just have a chip tattoo on your skin that then integrates with your smartphone and allows you to control the drones. This is the type of high-tech stuff that's happening. And I'm not against high-tech, but it's all being backdoored as a Trojan horse to control humanity, and our money and energy of the giant 7.5 billion human horde, as we're called, is being used to take our energy to build our prison and our own extermination grid. One final caller, and all the rest of them, Dr. Mike in Wyoming, Julie in California, Danny in Tennessee, Ryan in Colorado, they're all calls for Ben Fuchs. I've got to go tape an interview with, he was going to be on last night, but he couldn't get here, so we're doing it today with a interesting musician. And so I'll tell you about that before we leave here. But we're going to have some special stuff for you on the InfoWars Nightly News tonight, 7 o'clock Central. But pharmacist Ben Fuchs is going to be running the show here for the rest of the hour so that he can take your calls. But first, get into a bunch of important health news that really is revolutionary. But Immortal Technique will be reportedly on the Nightly News show with an interview that we'll be taping today. The news has been live the last few weeks, so I think we're going to tape it today because I'm going to do the news and do the interview because I've got to get out of here at about 5 o'clock. I have a prior commitment. Okay, let's go to a final caller on the vets getting the letters en masse, being told, no judge, no jury, you are now incompetent because we once put you on medication under orders, or the anthrax shot hurt you, and so you have no Second Amendment right. You are the enemy. If you don't turn them in, a young SWAT team is waiting to come and kill you, basically. And that's what they trained for, that the vets are the #1 enemy, and now it's all official. Chad in California, you're on the air. Last caller from the vets.
Hi, Alex. How you doing?
Pretty good.
All right. Hey, I don't want to pick apart what the federal government decides to do. I think you do an outstanding job at doing that. I haven't received my letter yet, but I'm anticipating it. I am a disabled veteran. My health is dwindling, and I just need a moment, an uninterrupted moment of the air so I can read something that I feel like will touch callers worldwide. Okay, all right. It's called In the Eyes of a Wounded Warrior. Images of one hanging his head, chaos amongst the living, carrying the dead. Once bitten, twice shy, ready to live and ready to die. Storming on the inside, bullets flying, where do I hide? Dilated pupils, heart pounding, this feeling in my gut, tension mounting. floating metal dropping fire, indiscriminate blood under the tire. These events deranged, forever changed. Welcome back, mind rearranged. Controlled mind, blood splatters. Red Cross message, loved one's heart shatter. Happy war machine, pockets got fatter. Thoughts of the mundane, driving pain, it's insane. Suit and tie sent us to die for a lie. Dredged excuses creating this mess. Abandoned little boy consciousness penniless. Well-being thrown in the ditches. Polluted humanity for false riches. Trading your guilt and shame for camera fame. Manipulated words, war's a lame state of mind, not a game. Executive decision to kill. Please forgive me, heaven have thy will. That's it.
All right, well, what do you think the veterans are going to do? Is they're told that they are, quote, incompetent and told your wife has to run your finances, or maybe she's mentally ill too, and we're going to take your kids, and they've done nothing. And now they're the hunted ones, and Homeland Security was always set up for them.
Well, I think that the First Amendment is our freedom of speech, our right to assembly, and if we are taking that, if that one is taken away, we have the Second Amendment. And that's what I think about that.
Spoken like an American, also now known as a terrorist. Thank you for the call. And again, it's former military, mainly their police, who are now going to go harass the military. And then as soon as they're done with you cops, they're going to take your guns too. And it's just incredible that I've known for 11 years Homeland Security was set up for the troops. I've known that. And I've said that, and I've put it in films, and I've warned you, and I've broken it down, and I've studied authoritarianism. I'm not patting myself on the back. My point is, this is real. And we have ruthless globalists that 13 years ago in '99 signed deals that were in Bloomberg a few years ago in AP, where the death benefits of troops, where they tell you, oh, sign here to have some of your check taken out for life insurance for your family. They signed a deal with Prudential and others just to take all that money. And they said, well, we got the Veterans Affairs to agree. And that's why they can say, we're going to hold up your back pay until you agree to say you have a psychological problem and go on these drugs. We're going to test you to make sure you're on those drugs. And you're like, well, I want my $50,000 or I want my $100,000 in some cases. You know, all the back pay you've been saving or whatever. By the way, if you're in the military, take every dime of it now. And don't invest it in any of their investment deals. You're never going to see any of it, okay? You understand that? And again, this is not part of some military butt-kissing operation. Military knows when they're out there doing checkpoints and being part of it, I'm in their face. But it really makes me sick watching the military being abused like this. While the very people doing it talk about how much they love the military. That's their cover. Like liberals say they're liberals, they're authoritarian eugenicists who created the Nazis. These are people that are into how humans work and controlling us and gaming us. They're con artists with a science plan. And a propaganda corps. But none of their fancy garbage matters anymore when you know they're the enemy. You understand that? Once you understand the score and their tricks, they only run about 15 different tricks. You know the play. Look, I've seen the card, man. I know what you're up to. Now, I'm turning the rest of this hour over to pharmacist Ben Fuchs, who was with me as a guest, but he's such a good talk show host, joining us via video Skype. I'm going to turn it over to him. But first, here's a report Jakari Jackson just did that was going to air on the Nightly News tonight. But I thought, why not just air this now? Because it gets into the veteran situation and kind of boils it all down, some of the backstory. Because, you know, Drudge is linked to the article about you know, the current thing, which is great. Our Infowars.com article that we, you know, discovered what Drudge was covering, we then wrote an article just adding some of the history of this to it at Infowars.com. So go check out the DrudgeReport.com link on the left-hand side, and then go and all the gun-grabbing news, then go check out our link with the backstory history on it. But right now, let's go ahead and go to this clip. Here it is with Jakari Jackson.
I'm Jakari Jackson for the InfoWars Nightly News. With all the pro-military coverage in the media, it often flies under the radar that veterans are viewed as the new terror threat. We've seen the use of Timothy McVeigh and others used to demonize all veterans, pushing the image of the angry, disgruntled vet, charging them with felonies and labeling them terrorists for doing things such as investigating surveillance cameras and demanding the rights that they fought to protect. Homeland Security has lumped servicemen in with, quote, right-wing extremists. And using what can best be described as bunk science, veterans are having their right to bear arms taken away. Even the Boy Scouts have run simulations on how to brutalize, quote, disgruntled veterans. Telling a veteran that they are too traumatized by their military experience to own a gun is like disarming a robbery victim because they are too traumatized by their home invasion. Now, while I do agree that there are some veterans that may not be the most sound of mind and body, you can say that of any in the American population, regardless of occupation, race, sex, location, or any other of many factors. And it's not always demonizing vets. Groups have worked behind the scenes to take away death benefits, trample religious freedoms, and even charge soldiers for the medals that they earned. We've heard the anecdote that soldiers of old would roll over in their graves if they had to deal with this kind of treatment. But the fact is that many veterans roll out of bed every day having to deal with these same issues. I'm Jakari Jackson for the InfoWars Nightly News.
And every night you get at least 30 minutes of that, sometimes 2 or 3 hours, but we've got it cut down to an official 30 minutes for TV, and then sometimes we go into overdrive for the PrisonPlanet.tv members. Become a PrisonPlanet.tv member today. Okay, Ben, you're going to break in 3 minutes. You got about 43 minutes. You've got the floor. Pharmacist Ben Fuchs, and you've got loaded phone lines there. Julie, Danny, Dr. Mike, Tim, Ryan. He'll get to all of you. Ben, you've got the floor. God bless.
Thank you so much, Alex, and I can't tell you what an honor this is. I've been an info warrior since the late 90s. That's when I started listening to Alex Jones, and to get to participate in this fashion is quite an honor. So thank you very much, and thank you to everybody out there at the InfoWars studios. Rob Du, Chris. Shout out to all you guys. Thank you for everything you do, Aaron Dykes. My name is Ben Fuchs. Most of you guys probably know who I am. I've got a radio program called The Bright Side on the Genesis Communication Network. It airs 8 to 9 Pacific Time, 10 to 11 Central Time. 5 days a week, we talk about the glory and the greatness of the human body, despite the fact that it seems like we are falling apart. Americans are the sickest culture in the history of the planet, despite the fact that we have the highest healthcare costs and more doctors per capita than any other country in the world. We're sicker than any other culture has ever been. But despite that, I have hope in the human body. I'm a lover of the human body. I've been studying the cells and studying tissues and studying the organs of the body since 1983 when I got into pharmacy school. And if there's one thing that I've learned, it is this. The human body is a healing system. It's a regenerating system. It is designed divinely to heal and renew itself on a moment-to-moment basis. And if we are not accessing this healing power, we are doing something wrong. And the fact of the matter is, friends, because of this built-in nature, because of this built-in healing nature of the human body, it is not difficult to access it. It's not difficult to access what is already there. We simply have to stop doing the things that cover this up. Most importantly, we have to stop interacting with the corporate swill that passes for food. McDonald's, Taco Bell, processed food, boxed foods, these need to be avoided like the plague. There is flat out no way we are going to be able to access our healing and health greatness as long as we are interacting with this corporate food lifestyle. We'll continue when we come back from our break. I'm looking forward to taking your phone calls if you've got questions about health, nutrition, prescription drugs, the longevity products, which you can get at infowars.health. We want to hear from you on the Alex Jones program. We'll be back right after this break. Don't go away. Indeed. There's a war on for your mind, and there's a war on for your body. There's a war on our good health. If we wanted to design a society that was specifically set up to destroy our ability to grow and repair and to live a quality life, we couldn't do a better job. I'm Pharmacist Ben, sitting in for Alex. I have the honors of sitting in for Alex today on the Alex Jones Show. I want to get to your phone calls here in a little bit. I love talking to you guys because I know that I can make a difference with some of the information that I can share with you. So if you want to give us a shout, we welcome your phone calls. We'll get to Julie in California, Dr. Mike in Wyoming. I'm especially interested in talking to you, so please hang tight. A couple things I want to say. First of all, I've been in the skincare business since 1983. I'm a skincare formulator. I've formulated products for many years. I've helped people with their skin for many years. We spend hundreds of millions of dollars in skincare in this country. And let me tell you something, people. There's not a topical skincare product in the world that can do for your eczema, that can do for your rosacea, that can do for your psoriasis, that can do for your skin what a good nutritional supplement program can do. Because the fact of the matter is, if you are dealing with some kind of skin health issue that is compromising the way you look and the way you appear, you are flat out dealing with some kind of nutritional deficiency and or digestive health issue. issue. In fact, this relationship between the digestive system and the skin is extremely intimate. When we're a fetus in the womb, a tube is formed that becomes our digestive system over time, and within days to weeks, the cells of that tube flip over and become our skin. And from that point forward, the skin and the digestive system are like two peas in a pod. They're best friends, and anything that shows up on any kind of breakdown in the digestive system is going to show up on the skin, and anything that is showing up on the skin, rest assured, has some kind of root cause in the digestive system. So if you guys are dealing with eczema, acne, psoriasis, any kind of skincare health issue, I want to hear from you, and we can help guide you through the process of using the Beyond Tangy Tangerine nutritional supplementation in general to take care of that. And by the way, if you're interested in purchasing any of the products that you hear us talk about, Infowars.health for products, or you can also call 1-888-789-9277. All right, so if you're dealing with a skin health issue, if you've got rosacea, vitiligo, acne, whatever it is, you are dealing with the manifestation of a stress response that's secondary to a digestive system breakdown. Period, end of story. And if you go to a dermatologist and you go to a doctor, and he gives you some kind of medicine, guess what he's probably going to give you? You're probably going to get a steroid cream. Why are you going to get a steroid cream? What is a steroid cream? A steroid cream is a cream that suppresses your immune system. The immune system is your defense system. The immune system is your stress management system. The way dermatological treatments work, the way skincare remedies work, is they shut down the body's stress response system. And this is so important to understand because, and I've said this before about the rest of the body, but it's true about the skin as well. Our diseases are the manifestation of long-term activation of the stress response system secondary to breakdown in the digestive system. Reading from one of my favorite magazines, Science News. This came out, I just got this yesterday. I'm always looking for articles that verify some of these ideas about health and our lack of health and its relationship to the digestive system. Page 10 in Science News, digestive juices blamed in shock. The nutrient-absorbing structures, I'm reading here, quote, the nutrient-absorbing structures in intestines break down when an animal is in shock, unquote, period. That is all you need to know about health and wellness. We go into shock mode. We go into safe mode. We go into stress management mode when our digestive system breaks down. And our digestive system breaks down, my friends, very early in life, sometimes prenatally. For most of us, at least it begins to break down when we leave the womb. This is because when we leave the womb, the human species, the human being, is born with a premature digestive tract. We got big heads, so we got to come out of the womb early. We come out of the womb immature, and especially at the digestive tract level, but no problem. Nature takes care of everything. This is where breast milk comes in. Breast milk is specifically designed to grow a digestive system. And by the way, I'll tell you about here in a moment, I'll tell you about a great nutritional supplement that you can use to help grow your digestive system and improve and help repair your digestive tract. But for now, I want to say that when we come out of the womb, nature has designed a system where breast milk will grow our digestive tract. If we are not breastfed long enough, if we're not breastfed at all, or if we're breastfed by moms who are themselves nutritionally compromised, guess what? We begin our life with strike one at the digestive tract level. Strike two begins when we interface with the standard American diet, and by the time most of us are 10 or 12 years old, our lymphatic system, which is our poison and waste control system, is so swollen we can't even breathe, and we have to have a surgical procedure to have that lymph removed. It's called a tonsillectomy. We're going to take a break. Be back with your phone calls on the Alex Jones Show right after this. Don't go away. All right, welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I am Pharmacist Ben, sitting in for Alex. I have the honor of sitting in for Alex. We're talking about health, nutrition, the skin, the digestive system, and I also want to get to your phone calls. Dr. Mike, hang tight. I want to get to you next, but real quick, if you're dealing with a skincare issue, you're dealing with a digestive issue, and you're dealing with a nutritional deficiency issue, the good news is, friends, If you are dealing with a skincare issue, you can reverse it toot sweet. I'm talking eczema, psoriasis, acne. The beautiful thing about the skin is it regenerates itself every 4 to 8 weeks, which means that whatever your skin condition is today, you can begin the healing process immediately, and within 4 to 8 weeks, you don't have to have it any longer. But you do have to make some corrections, most especially around digestive health and wellness and nutritional supplementation. If you're interested, by the way, in purchasing any of the longevity products that you've heard us talk about on this program, go to Infowars.health, or you can call 1-888-789-9277. All right, so when you think skin, think digestive health. When you think digestive health, think liquid nutrition. The less work your digestive system has to do, the better off it's going to be. Liquid nutrition allows you to bypass digestive juices, to bypass the chewing up process, the grinding process that occurs in the stomach, and it allows your nutrients to go right to work. And in fact, this is why liquid nutrients like the Beyond Tangy Tangerine work so effectively and work so fast. But you don't need just the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. You can use vegetable juices. You can use soups. In fact, one of my favorite nutritional supplements for the skin is bone soup, where you take a chicken carcass or even a whole chicken, drop it in a pot of water, put a little apple cider vinegar in there, throw some veggies in there, and let the water simmer until it forms a soupy consistency and the meat falls off the bone. It makes the most delicious soup you've ever had, you've ever tasted. And on top of that, the cartilaginous factors, the cartilage factors that come out of the bone and dissolve into the water are some of the best and most protective skin nutrients you could ever use. And on top of all that, it's great for your immune system, it's great for your digestive system, and it's great for your joints. And it's called bone soup. You can make it yourself. It's cheap and tasty. You can take the extra, the stuff you don't use, you can freeze it, put it in a ice cube tray and make little ice cubes of bone soup ice cubes, and then you can stick them in a saucepan, and you can make fresh soup whenever you want, or you can put it in a microwave in a cup of water, and you can make yourself bone soup for lunch. Another great strategy for the digestive system is the longevity product called Z-Radical. Z-Radical is made up of something called polysaccharides or proteoglycans, which are slimy kinds of material. One of the ways that we get sick and one of the ways that we get into digestive health issues is by attack from substances that are produced by plants and bacteria called lectins. That's spelled L-E-C-T-I-N-S. Lectins are like sticky pods that attach themselves to our digestive tract and different parts of the body and can wreak havoc on not just digestive health, but on urinary tract health, on lung health, on lectins are responsible for cancer. Lectins are responsible for gluten intolerance. One of the neat things about the Z-Radical and its kind of slimy consistency is that slime coats these lectins and allows your body to excrete them, and they can help improve the Z-Radical can help improve the symptoms of H. pylori infection, digestive distress, arthritis, and autoimmune diseases. Women for eons have used things like cranberry juice to help dissolve and wash away the bacteria that cause urinary tract infections. And what they were doing unknowingly is using the sugars in cranberry juice to slime away the bacteria, the E. coli bacteria that cause the urinary tract infection. So the Z-Radical for the digestive system, the liquid nutrients, especially the Beyond Tangy Tangerine for the digestive system, and one more really cool nutritional supplement that you can use for the digestive system and for digestive health, and also for building muscle, and also for brain health, and also for cardiovascular health. I'll tell you what that is here in a second, but I want to get to the phones, take a couple phone calls. Before we do that, Dr. Mike, I want to hear what you have to say. Dr. Mike in Wyoming, what's going on, buddy?
Yes, hi. Dr. Fuchs, I've listened to you a couple times on Alex's show and tried to call in. I graduated from UTMB in Galveston and trained out at St. Joe's in Phoenix. You say a few things that really kind of discredit yourself, although I think basically you're selling a good product, and I use some of them. But when you make statements like all diseases are nutrition-based, which you've made several times, and statements to the effect that all physicians are just prostitutes in service to pharmaceutical industry.
Well, I've never said that. So I'm interested in what you have to say. I've never said anything like that. But go ahead. I want to hear what you have to say. But don't be putting words in my mouth, and don't be saying implying that I said things that I didn't say. But continue. I want to hear what you have to say.
What's the title of your book?
I don't have a book. I think you're mistaking me for somebody else.
No, maybe I am. But
I think you're mistaken. Oh, you're talking about Dead Doctors Don't Lie. Is that what you're talking about?
Is that your book?
No, it's not my book, but I know what you're saying. Listen, I don't want to get into a pissing contest here with you, Doc. The fact of the matter is, I'm not going to tell you that I don't like saying the word all. I never say the word all because there's always exceptions. However, I can tell you that in my experience, behind almost all degenerative disease crisis is a problem processing nutrients, either at the digestive system level or at the intake level. Do you disagree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's utter nonsense.
Well, hang on. Tell me what degenerative disease does not have at its core some kind of nutrition processing issue or absorption issue or intake issue. Name one.
Well, let me. You cut me off. Let me finish what I had to say. You've also made the statement that physicians have virtually no training in nutrition.
I never said that. You're confusing me with somebody else.
I'm sorry, but you did. And I don't think you're in a position to even make statements like that.
I never said those things. You're confusing me with somebody else. Doc, listen, we're not going anywhere. Thank you so much for your call. I appreciate it. Julie in California, what's going on?
Hi. Yeah, hi. Is this the Alex Jones show?
Yes, it is. And I'm pharmacist Ben Fuchs sitting in for Alex.
Is Alex Jones in there now or no?
Alex Jones may be somewhere, but can I help you? We're talking about health and nutrition for the next 20 minutes or so.
Okay, well, I was really calling to talk to Alex Jones, but now since we're talking about health, I want to get your take on antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication.
Here's the deal. Anti-anxiety and antidepressant medication are, number one, like all pharmaceutical medication, they're poisons. Number two, depression and anxiety are not pharmaceutical issues. They're the manifestation, the psychological manifestation, the brain manifestation of an activated stress response. The body basically feels like it's dying. Now, when the body feels like it's dying, there's only two reasons that the body feels like it's dying. Number one, because it thinks it's starving to death, and number two, it thinks it's going to be eaten by a wild animal. The human body doesn't understand 21st century stresses because the human body is an evolutionary mechanism that has been around for millions of years. The IRS and our dysfunctional families and the police state and gluten intolerance, these are all very recent phenomena to the human body. So when we have a stress that is induced by something psychological, like something that's going on in the society, or a stress from prescription drugs, or a stress from gluten, to the body, all it knows is that it's either about to die because it's going to be eaten by a tiger, or it's about to die because it's starving to death. So what we call depression and we call anxiety are the psychological manifestations of a body in crisis, a body that feels like it's about to die because it's about to be eaten or it's starving to death. So what do you do? How do you deal with these kinds of things? Well, first of all, the most important thing to deal with anxiety and depression is to somehow send the biochemistry the message that all is okay, that your survival is not at stake. And there's several ways to do that. One of the simplest and one of the easiest is to practice deep breathing techniques. Deficiencies in oxygen will trigger this stress response that shows up as anxiety and depression faster than almost anything because our need for oxygen is such that 3 minutes without oxygen and we're dead. So as soon as oxygen levels drop and carbon dioxide levels go up, our body will initiate the stress response, which will show up physiologically as hypertension, high blood pressure, blood clotting, digestive distress, immune suppression, and will show up psychologically, mentally, as depression and anxiety. Anybody who gets panic attacks or anxiety attacks will tell you, right before their anxiety attack, they go into a deep hyperventilation, fast breathing. This hyperventilation and this fast breathing initiates the anxiety and initiates the panic attack. If you're dealing with anxiety and panic attacks, don't take my word for it. Right before you go into a panic attack, you feel like one's coming on. If you're dealing with anxiety, practice deep breathing techniques. Number one, what you'll end up doing is you'll open up your blood vessels. Number two, you're going to thin your blood so you'll get more oxygen to tissues and you'll get more nutrients to tissues. And number three, you'll drop your brain wave states from the beta wave state, which is a fast-moving state that's involved in problem solving and distress, and you'll drop it into the hypnagogic state slowly, so-called alpha state. This is all done with something as simple as deep breathing. You don't need a doctor for it. You don't need a drug for it. You don't need to interface with the medical model at all for it. You don't need insurance for it, and it'll cost you zero. The next, second great strategy, and we've been talking about this on the bright side, for helping with depression or helping with anxiety or helping to tell the body that all is right in the world, is to get yourself out in the sun, to lay out in the sun without a sunscreen, without a sunblock. I'm not telling you to burn. Burning is never a good thing. But if you're not going to burn in 5 or 10 minutes, get yourself out in the sun. Number one, the sun stimulates anabolic chemistry. That is building chemistry. That chemistry of joy and happiness is also activated by the sun. And on top of all of that, when the sun hits your skin, you produce a hormone called serotonin, which many of you guys have heard of, which is converted into melatonin. Melatonin is a powerful relaxing substance, and it's an anti-cancer substance, and it's an anti-aging substance, and it's wonderful for dealing with anxiety or depression. These are two very simple strategies, breathing and getting out in the sun, that can allow you to access the body's relaxation chemistry, this anti-anxiety chemistry, for free, without having to go to the doctor and without having to deal with an insurance program. Now, the third very effective way to deal with anxiety is to make sure that you're taking care of your nutritional needs and to make sure you're eating less calories. Now, these are two very important strategies that kind of go hand in hand. But remember, this emergency response that the body has is number one, to prevent us from being eaten by a tiger, and number two, to help us deal with starvation and famine. Nutritional deficiency tells the body that a famine is approaching. When we don't get vitamin C, when we don't get vitamin E, when we don't get enough essential fatty acids, when we don't get enough protein, the body thinks it's dying. The body thinks it's starving. The body thinks a famine is approaching, and this too will initiate and activate the stress response, which will show up physiologically as weight gain, blood clotting, hypertension, and will show up mentally and psychologically as depression and anxiety. So getting yourself on a nutritional supplement program, especially one that has concentrated nutrients that allow your body to access the nutrients without having to deal with the digestive process, can be a tremendous help for folks dealing with anxiety. So important that you'll notice results really quickly, especially in terms of the water-soluble vitamins, especially in terms of the B complex, which are water-soluble vitamins that are processed out of most foods. B complex, by the way, are intimately connected with mental health. A guy named Dr. Abram Hoffer wrote a book called Orthomolecular Psychiatry many years ago, where he talked about using simple, plain old niacin, vitamin B3, to treat schizophrenia. He treat it very effectively. Deficiencies in B vitamins are extremely common. One of the main reasons is because we're getting so much processed food. So your third strategy, in addition to deep breathing techniques and making sure that you're getting copious amounts of sunshine without a sunscreen and without burning, your third strategy is to get yourself on a nutritional supplement program, one that features the B complex and one that features liquid nutrition. I hope I helped you there, Julie. Any other questions for me? Okay, Julie. All right, a couple people on hold that I want to get to, but before we do that, I want to tell you about a wonderful nutritional supplement that's super for the digestive system, and one we don't really talk about as being important for digestive health, and that's whey protein. Whey protein is obviously an important building protein. It's a component of milk. It contains fractions from the milk that are designed to build the baby's digestive tract. Remember, the baby is born, human babies and mammal babies in general, are born with premature digestive tract, and nature has a system designed to build the digestive tract via breast milk. Well, the component in breast milk that has the most building properties for the digestive tract is the whey fraction, and especially the whey protein fraction. So whey protein is not only a bodybuilder's favorite supplement, super source of building amino acids, but it's also critical for digestive health and digestive wellness. Now, not only is it important for helping build the digestive tract, but there's also substances in whey protein that protect the digestive tract, especially against those lectins that we talked about in the last segment. Lectins are the sticky components on bacteria and sticky components that are found in vegetables that can stick or adhere themselves to the digestive tract. Whey protein has anti-lectin substances that can protect you from these lectin components in vegetables, and they can be especially whey protein can be especially effective if you're dealing with gluten intolerance. The gluten reaction is a lectin reaction. It's a sticky attachment to the intestine. There are ingredients in whey protein that can help dissolve that lectin attachment. I'm not saying 100% of the time it's going to work, but for a lot of folks, getting on a whey protein supplement can be a wonderful way to deal with gluten intolerance issues as well as any other lectin issues. And the neat thing about whey protein, and one of my favorite things about nutritional supplementation is, unlike prescription drugs that perhaps give you a little bit of purported benefit and a lot of side effects, nutritional supplements give you benefits, and instead of side effects, they give you side benefits. So if you take your whey protein for your digestive system, you're going to find that you're building better muscle, that you're eating less food, that you got a better immune system, and you're supporting circulatory system health as well. And that's one of the coolest things about getting yourself on a nutritional supplement program is you get multiple benefits, multiple health benefits rather than side effects. All right. If you want to purchase any of the longevity products, go to Infowars.health. You can also call 1-888-INFOWARSHealth.com, Infowarshealth.com, or you can call 1-888-789-9277. All right, we just got a couple more minutes to talk to you. I'd love to hear from somebody who's got some skin health issues so you can we can tell you how to deal with them, and maybe you can help other people who are listening. Let's see. Danny in Tennessee, what's going on? All right, then Ryan in Colorado. What's up, Ryan?
How you doing, Ben? It's always a pleasure to listen to you. Have a way of coming across to your listeners is energetic and exciting and easy to understand.
Thank you.
My question is I've got two people in my life that have issues. One of which my girlfriend has or had her colon removed back about 10 years ago, and she's currently on Beyond Tangerine and things like that. She has issues with sleep and stuff like that. But how does whey affect her when you don't have a large intestine?
She doesn't have her large intestine?
Her colon. Her colon's been removed.
Okay, so I'm assuming you mean the large intestine. They used to call the small intestine the small colon, so I'm assuming you mean the large intestine. Hang tight, Ryan. We got to take a break, okay? Hang tight. We'll get to you when we come back from our break. I'm pharmacist Ben Fuchs, sitting in for Alex Jones. You're listening to The Alex Jones Show. If you want to purchase any of the longevity products you hear us talk about on the program, InfoWarsHealth.com or 1-888-789-9277. We're coming back right after this. All right, welcome back to The Alex Jones Show. I am pharmacist Ben, sitting in for the next few minutes for Alex Jones. Let's see, fast food linked to asthma risk, also from Science News. I love this magazine. Fast food linked to asthma risk. Surprise, surprise. A diet high in fast food seems to increase the risk of asthma. This is the deal, friends. Asthma is another manifestation of the stress response run amok. And fast food tells the body an emergency has occurred inside. An emergency is occurring inside the body. And by the way, when we eat any food, we activate something called the postprandial immune system. Postprandial means post-eating. That means any food. That means a good food. If we eat just a salad, we will activate our body's immune system, let alone if we start to ingest fast food, toxic food, processed food, food that's filled with excitotoxins and preservatives. This idea of watching what you eat is so fundamentally important, and also eating less food, practicing something called intermittent fasting. Every single study that's been done on longevity has shown that reducing your calories increases your longevity. Caloric restriction with adequate nutrition is the most powerful longevity-inducing lifestyle strategy you could ever use. All right. Real quick, Ryan in Colorado, your friend doesn't have a colon, and you're, I'm assuming, large intestine, and you're wondering about whey protein, correct?
Yeah, well, you were just talking about whey protein, and I was thinking about that. That was exactly why I called in, but if you could just touch on that real quick.
Well, you're not going to have to worry about it too much without a large intestine. Whey protein, the amino acids in whey protein are absorbed very effectively, I might add, in the small intestine, so she should be okay in that regard. The most important thing to recognize about whey protein, in my opinion, is it is a tremendously usable source of protein and non-protein factors that help our immune system and help the body grow. So that not only are you getting amino acids, not only are you getting the building substances, but you're also getting substances like lactoferrin and lactalbumin and immune-boosting factors that are designed to support the immune system and prevent you from getting cancer and degenerative disease. That's one of the neatest things about whey protein, and it's one of the important distinguishing features of whey protein that you don't get in other sources of protein, as good as they may be. Hemp seed protein, for example, is a wonderful way to get your protein, but it doesn't have these building factors like the lactoferrin and the albumins that are found in whey protein. All right, we only got a couple of minutes. Tim in Georgia, what's going on, buddy? Do we have Tim? Tim in Georgia, yes, sir.
Hello.
Hey, Tim, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, I was actually calling in earlier to talk to Alice about the way the veterans were being targeted by the VA.
Let's hear what you have to say. You got about a minute. Let's hear what you have to say.
Please over to what you're talking about here. I was diagnosed with chronic panic disorder from the Navy, and it turns out I was also diagnosed at the same time with emphysema.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a breathing deal where it feeds off one another. And
what was the first thing you said? Tim, I didn't hear what the first thing you said. Chronic pain disorder?
Chronic panic disorder.
Oh, chronic panic. Yes, they do. They go together. This is exactly what I'm telling you. When the body is deprived of oxygen, it thinks it's about to die. So COPD and emphysema and breathing problems will initiate panic attacks and anxiety attacks faster than almost anything else. So the two go together. Number one, force yourself. If you have do you have a muscle injury of some kind? You know what? That's the music, my friend. Tim, that's the music. Shoot me an email, ben@ksco.com, and I'll be glad to answer your question via email, ben@ksco.com. I'm sorry, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, all you guys. Thank you, everybody at the InfoWars studio. If you want to learn more about the longevity products, go to InfoWarsHealth.com. You can also call 1-888-789-9277. Listen to me on the bright side every day on the Genesis Communication Network, 8 to 9 Pacific. And also Facebook me, Pharmacist Ben or Ben Fuchs on Facebook. I'd love to be friends with you guys. Thank you, everybody. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye for now.
Or emails and comments I see going, I like Newt Gingrich. That's a real conservative. They don't know he's a globalist, picked as a university professor because he wrote publications calling for world government, calling for a one-world planetary regime, hanging out at Bilderberg group meetings and stuff. They don't know. And I listen to talk radio callers on other shows. They're so helpless, most of them. And they have and that's a more informed group on average. They have no idea. It just doesn't make sense. The government shouldn't raise taxes. The government shouldn't do that. It's going to make the economy shut down. They're so stupid. They're not stupid, ladies and gentlemen. They are financially debasing you. Now, here's the deal. I'm going to be getting into the economy. I've got to today. It's so important. Covered it some yesterday, but not 1/10 of what I should. A bunch of medical news. Now people are finally listening about MSG. Doesn't just make you sick. It brain damages you. Okay? Don't eat MSG. We've got to eradicate it. Aspartame, now it's coming out, is giving people type 2 diabetes. As I told you 17 years ago, because they knew day one they couldn't get it approved in the 60s and 70s, folks. It killed the monkeys they fed it to. Killed them. Go look it up. That's finally in CBS News, and finally, but they're hitting us with hundreds of chemicals on purpose. Remember, but even if people are weak-minded and can't admit that because that's scary, even if you deny it, it's still going on. The point is it's hurting you. So we've got some news on that. The shocking truth about organic foods grown in the world's worst environmental cesspool, China, being flown in. It's not just horse meat. Horse meat, it's what's for dinner. It's not just fake fish, chicken. They texturize and put chemicals in to give it a fishy taste. And they put it through different machinery and reconstitute it to look like fish, extruding it out of molds. They do it with pork. All this is coming out that the food's fake, the water's fake. Fake, fake, fake. That's part of living under a tyranny. And it's part of living in a society where, oh, there's no lying going on, or I don't care if the government lies to me. Well, when you don't care if the government's lying to you, or if you don't care if corporations are lying to you, and if you just kind of unplug from reality and just go with it, very bad things happen. See, everybody's been taught it's an attribute to be silly, to be foolish, to not care, to say, to hell with it. But it's not, ladies and gentlemen. It just makes things worse. Now, that said, I'm going to cover our top story, and it ties into the other Second Amendment news and the TSA news on the other side of this break. And I knew this was already being tested. I knew this was coming. But it really freaks me out because it's so over-the-top brazen. And I want you to call all your friends and family, whether they have an iPhone, they can go download the free iPhone app. That's linked at Infowars.com or PrisonPlanet.com in the listen page area. Or just Google free Infowars iPhone app, or there's free Android apps, all of them. Or you can listen on your local AM or FM station. XM 166 picks up the second and third hour. But tell your friends and family to tune in right now. Tell them to tune in right now. Email them, call them, tell your coworkers if you're on lunch. You need to hear this because the system plans on just putting this out there, and maybe they have a congressional hearing and then debate it, and then nothing happens. This is the end of due process. It's really a cherry on top of everything, and it confirms everything else, all the documents, all the training manuals, all my law enforcement sources in FBI, in ATF, in federal marshals, in state police, in local police. I told you years ago they're training to confiscate veterans' guns en masse. I told you years ago they're going to send a letter to veterans saying, come turn your guns in. They're going to tell generals to turn their guns in, just like the Soviets did. They'd only captured part of Moscow. They ordered the military to turn their guns in. And they did it. They promised an amnesty if they did. I mean, this has happened everywhere else, and we just can't believe it's happening here. They really are going to have a hot coup takeover, a purge, a mass arrest. They really are planning that. Okay, that's not rhetoric. We've got to defend the Republic. We've got to defeat these globalist tyrants. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Okay, let me get into our top stories, ladies and gentlemen. First off, federal government moves to disarm veterans. No judge, no jury. They just say, well, you're a combat vet. You're not allowed to have guns anymore. We can't trust you because it's a foreign takeover. We have the official Department of Veterans Affairs saying, here is your letter. You can't own guns anymore. No judge, no jury. It's like a no-fly list. As Rahm Emanuel said, wake worldwide to tyranny. The Council on Foreign Relations bemoans that. Zbigniew Brzezinski, one of the top global tacticians, bemoans that. But also, never before has there been greater technological systems of domination, surveillance, and social control pointed at free humanity. And never have we had a more decentralized tyranny that basically load balances in a plausible deniability algorithm to where it's very hard to cut a hydra's head off because these globalists couch all their policies and rules and laws and frauds in different committees and waivers and certifications so that the bureaucracy is so deep that no one can ever point the finger at just one person. And that's why the tyrants can get away with so much. There have been many cases in history where you have an oligarchy, a small ruling elite, or a royal dynasty, or one emperor, for that matter, and they will actually be egomaniacs who want big public work projects and aqueducts and want the population educated so they can dominate their neighbors and have a better military and a better economic system. Domination through trade. You've heard of the philosopher king. You can actually get golden ages out of the benevolent dictator. The problem is those are very rare, A, and B, once the centralization is set up, you can be assured that when that emperor is killed or when that emperor dies, you're going to get a psychopathic demon in their place. Or maybe just somebody who's a little bit of a tyrant. But down the road, you will get a absolute out-of-control, psychopathic control freak in there, and then all hell will be released. I've studied the psychopathic mindset and the different dictatorial mindsets, the different variants throughout history. A, because I want to understand the present. To know the present, you have to know the past. To know the future, you need to know the past and the present. That's all important. That's what the globalists obsess on all day. That's what their Google and NSA spying is all about. It's what all their smart houses and smart meters and all these surveillance bots hiding in plain view in our homes are doing. But again, they lack the general, deeper, loving, kind-eyed, kind-souled understanding of their own human nature to be able to wield this power. And they are arrogant, and they are basically like a diver who goes down below 150 feet, starts getting, the nitrogen psychosis, and starts getting higher than a kite and feeling incredibly confident. And then you swim into that old wreck, even though you're almost out of oxygen, feeling confident, you get caught up, it cuts your air hose, and you drowned. And tyrants up in those upper latitudes of power, if they're narcissist/sadist control freaks, or whatever variant of that, they get the opposite of the megalomania up top and then start hating everyone below them and engaging in absolute oppression and domination, and anything left standing has to be pulled down because it's a threat to them. Yertle the turtle has to be up on top. And so higher, higher, build me up higher. I have to be higher than the birds. I have to be higher than the clouds. I have to be higher than the sun. It's the old story of Yertle the turtle, Dr. Seuss. And here we are at that point. There is no doubt that the establishment has decided to go the way of premeditated oppression. The Republicans have been told, get in line. They're running the hoax that the real Tea Party, not the neocon variant, has been discredited, because even though it's not perfect, it holds the seeds of the Republic, private property, the family, Second Amendment, right to life, things like that in its guts. And so it must be destroyed. And so they're running the hoax that the states are discredited and there's no rights there and there's no rights in the individuals, and gun owners are collectively guilty for the violence in Mexico, even though our government helped set that up with Fast and Furious, and we're guilty for Sandy Hook, and we're collectively terrorists, and we're collectively bad. And racial division, creating a race connection if you don't like socialist health care written by the insurance companies to bankrupt the country and consolidate power. Completely fascist, but they sell it as some socialist freebie. Well, you must be racist then. You're like, what does that have to do with common sense? It's a non-starter. It doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense, because everything is debased down to a bunch of bleating and shouting. Funds, the bond markets now is basically holding us all hostage, and this is how they're consolidating the economy into a top-down, organized, managed command and control system. And they have basically hobbled the public's mind by only teaching you about leftism and right-wingism, or fascism on the right, communism on the left. And which, you know, fascism always becomes authoritarian, communism becomes authoritarian, because they're authoritarian systems designed by the robber barons starting in the 1870s on record. I mean, they've had the congressional hearings on this. There have been countless white papers and books written by Helmut Schmidt, Men in Power as a Political Retrospective, Carol Quigley's Tragedy and Hope. 4 or 5 books. I've read 3 of them by Zbigniew Brzezinski. All of it. And they sell it to every audience. They sell it to libertarians one way. They're Peter Thiel. They sell it to liberals another way. They sell it to right-wingers another way. But really, it's all the same poison labeled with different flavors. It's grape, it's cherry, it's coconut, it's strawberry, it's orange, it's lime, it's lemon lime. It's all those flavors. It's raspberry Kool-Aid. But it's all the same base poison cyanide, Jim Jones handed out a bunch of different flavors there in Guyana. But it was all the same thing at the rock bottom. At the rock bottom. And they are trying to create literally a false political reality with a dumbed-down population so that the globalists, let's look at motive, get the life extension technologies and can have their progeny enjoy the resources of the earth and the advanced human development for themselves. It is the ultimate act of total domination. The culmination of British royalty funding scientists in the 1850s beginning for a political system of total control to end the species as it has been known, to artificialize it, to hobble it, to binary damage it with a poison in the culture of artificial degeneration so that the power structure has to be the artificial gravitational girder or center of the wheel system to unify and control it. Everything is about making us dependent on them. Getting us in the judicial system, getting us in the psychiatric system, getting us into the criminal justice system, getting us into the fraternity, into the cult, into the guild, into the right wing, and the liberal, the gay, the straight, the black, the white, the Raza, the Mecha, the Klan. Getting you into your group, then with key globalists over it at each point in Rothkopf and the Kissinger group's superclass model. I had Rothkopf, head of the Kissinger group at the time, who wrote Superclass 5 years ago. I talk about it so much because I'm like, why did you come on the show when I saw your book in the Washington Post? He goes, well, I know it's a good-sized show. And I said, did you think I was Alex S. Jones, the head of the Shorenstein Center and the former head of the New York Times? And he goes, no, I knew you were Alex E. Jones. He goes, I wanted to have you on and try to convince you globalism is good. I was talking to him during the few breaks. He was on for 30 minutes. Maybe it was an hour. You can go pull up that interview out there. And after that, we've called him. He said, no, I couldn't convince you. You don't understand. I don't want to come back on. I'm too busy. But during the breaks, he's like, well, you're part of the superclass. You know, you're like a leader of the patriots. I mean, that's how this works. It's like, oh, I can still be a patriot and be Mr. Libertarian, but then I can kind of do little favors. He's like, well, that's not how it works. This is during the break talking to him. But he's like, you know, it's not as bad as you say. It's the way it's always been. You know, it's no big deal. It's warm inside. Come on inside, Alex. But see, that's only the cover story, folks. It's very dark on the inside of this thing. And I'm not bragging about myself. I'm not bragging about Alex Jones here. I'm saying that I've had top national radio executives try to get me to sell out to the New World Order. And it's the same thing. Globalism's the future. You can't stop it, Alex. You're going to be a star or be on this crusade and go nowhere. I've been giving that speech like 4 times by 4 different radio executives. Rothkopf was giving me the speech during 3-minute breaks. Don't you understand, folks? This is not my opinion about this New World Order. But I'll tell you what I found. When everybody sold out, and I never did this on purpose, but when everybody sold out, it's lesser and lesser returns to sell out. I never sold out because I'm not signing on to corruption and evil and death and destruction. I have goodwill for people. But I'll use an analogy that I've read in the Wall Street Journal and other places about porn. 30 years ago, a top porn actress might get paid $2-3 million a year, $500,000 per picture. Now, the quality of women is off the chart, supermodel level, and they're getting paid $500 because there's such a glut. Every young woman wants to be a star. And the only place you get called a star, a mind control event, you're a star being a cop. You're a star being a bureaucrat. It is your PrisonPlanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here on this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe it's already Friday. And we're going to be here live for the next 3 hours on this 22nd day of February 2013. And I will attempt to be calm today and go over all of the off-the-charts news and information that we're going to be covering. Now, I told you this was coming. But now it's official. The ATF is just going to make rules outside of law to start banning semi-automatic firearms. And the federal government, without a judge or jury or even doctor's designation, is going to declare most vets mentally incompetent and mail you a letter. And one lawyer alone knows of hundreds of vets that are coming to him getting this letter. And so we're going to be going over this report that's up at Infowars.com. Federal government moves to disarm veterans. And Kurt Nimmo has added the Department of Veterans Affairs official letter that states a determination of incompetency will prohibit you from purchasing, possessing, receiving, or transporting a firearm or ammunition. If you knowingly violate any of these prohibitions, you may be fined, imprisoned, or both pursuant to the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act, public document number 103-159, as implemented in 18 United States Code 924A2. And DrudgeReport.com has the original story on this with a breakdown report. Feds send letters to vets from VA prohibiting ownership or purchase of firearms or even shooting them, and they have the area excised, and it's from the lawyer at Red Flag News. Now, I'm already aware of this information, so I can confirm this is going on, but it's intensifying. Clinton, when he left office, tried this. About 89,000 vets just suddenly were told they couldn't own guns anymore, but it became a big court issue and they had to back off. This is dwarfing that right now. And this isn't where a court finds you incompetent and so you're put in the nut house. You're in the nut house now. You're in the nut house now. Kind of a takeoff on the Johnny Cash song, You're in the jailhouse now. And this is just completely arbitrary. It's what the Soviets did. It's what so many historians have pointed out and talked about tyranny coming in a medical form. And not that this globalism is so much a Soviet system. They use Soviet models of control and Soviet collectivism at the grassroots to control and redistribute wealth, but then it's done in a fascist way, as it always is, only redistributed to key, select combines for political control. And then you have the globalists offshore who are exempt from all that. Pretty devastating info. The reason the Kurt Nimmo article is important, because it's originally in Red Flag News and the GatewayPundit.com via DrudgeReport.com. The reason this is so important is that we've been on this for 17 years, but hardcore for 11 plus. That it's not Al-Qaeda that Homeland Security's for. It's for gun owners, conservatives, libertarians, constitutionalists, you name it. And that the liberals have all this liberal talk on the surface, a lot of which I actually agree with, but they don't follow through with it. It's all oppressive. They're the real authoritarians. They are the authoritarians. They say a lot of great stuff about equality and the rest of it, but it's all talk. It's camouflage. They are the most dangerous authoritarian party. And the Republicans are their kissing cousins at the leadership level. We'll be right back with this incredible news. It's all happening day by day, grain by grain. The hourglass runs dry. Our liberties spilling into the dark void of tyranny. It is Friday, the 22nd day of February 2013. And we stand here at a crossroads, in a conundrum, in a paradox. Never have there been more people back when he was White House Chief of Staff. He said, we're just going to put you on a no-gun buy list, whoever we want, because we think maybe you might be a possible terrorist. We're going to be going over that, going over the actual documents that we have linked up at Infowars.com, where it's all broken down. We're going to get the constitutional lawyer on who's representing these clients. So that is all coming up. Sincerely yours, K. Kalama, Veterans Service Center, Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs. That's just this letter. No judge, no jury, no nothing. It's kind of like when L.A. sends me a bill for $1,200 saying, somebody put an Infowars.com sign up. And so you owe us this or we're going to arrest you. No citation, no judge, no jury, no statutory law, just we have men with guns. We will sue you. We will put a warrant out, and Texas reciprocates. They are going to arrest you. The state police are going to arrest you. $1,200 scum. Veterans, there is no law. We are redcoats. We're coming for your guns. We have SWAT teams ready. Of course, they'll take their guns later, too. But they'll love it. I mean, if the vets don't turn their guns in, they'll burn them up like Dorner. Federal government moves to disarm veterans. Boom. DHS contractor apologizes for selling shooting targets of children. Now, we put it out. We put the story out. We broke it on Monday. People couldn't believe it. The company responded. DHS spent $2 million requesting targets of children to shoot and pregnant women. And now they've responded, apologizing, saying they won't sell them to the public anymore. That was their mistake. They were supposed to just sell those to DHS and keep that training with the 2 billion bullets quiet. So that's now official. And Michael Moore, who has bodyguards that I've personally been shoved around by for no reason, tried to ask him a question in the New York streets politely. And you could see they all had bulges under their jackets carrying firearms. His bodyguards have been arrested before, carrying firearms in illegal areas, like the airport. But he has guns, by the way, and he has bodyguards. He says, we have the video, he says, get a dog. You're not worth $80 million like Michael Moore. Or my old friend Charlie Sheen, who's being politically correct now, I guess, saying, well, I've got bodyguards, so you don't need a gun. Well, Charlie, we don't all make $3 million a week like you. We don't all own a block of the Hollywood Hills. What, 4 houses on the same block, bro? Here, let's go over to this giant palace house with swimming pools. And it's the disconnect, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm not, I like Charlie. I've known him a long time. In fact, I can't even bring myself to call him and criticize him. I don't even know what to do anymore. I got to call him. Speaking of talking to people, I'm going to come back in a longer segment and get into the magnitude of the officially no judge, no jury, no designation, no nothing. Mainly how they're doing is you go into the VA and they ask you, how you feeling, Bob? Been a little angry lately after you had to have that leg amputated because of diabetes? Yeah, it's really making me angry. Okay, have fun going home. And you get home and the CPS is taking your kids and your guns have been taken forever. Oh, yeah, they're not just going to take your guns. They're going to take your kids. I forgot that part. That's all over the news. They even have veterans organizations now. Oh, yeah. You go watch Zero Dark 30, and it's all the Navy SEALs, and they're real men, and we're going to be replaced with robots very soon. The Air Force already is. And it's how much the system loves the troops. They hate you. Let me show TV viewers this card. Rob Jacobson gave this to me for my birthday on February 11th as a joke. It's Bill and Hillary Clinton. And that's back when they were CIA operatives in the late 60s, and they were over in London under a famous CIA section chief. Yeah, they're CIA, just like Anderson Cooper. And again, when you're CIA, that's foreign banks that took over through Skull and Bones that founded the CIA under OSS in 41 and the CIA in 47. This is the foreign takeover group. This is the monopoly group. And this is who rules us. These are the people that run our country today. About as high as it gets are Hillary and Clinton as top-level minions of the actual owners. And look at them. I want to show people this. This is who we're going to bow to. We're going to take forced inoculations because they say. We're going to turn our guns in because we say. And they're going to take the veterans' kids because they say. And they're going to put us in re-education camps because they say. And look how weak and pathetic they are. But because they're weak and pathetic, laughing at us, we'll let them run our lives because we love to be slaves. folks. Alex Jones here, back live, and we have a lot of new listeners today. Let me explain what's happened. Foreign mega banks have taken over most of the world because they can issue unlimited currency and credit and then pay our governments off to sign on to that fraudulent derivative debt. Because that fake paper, once it's invested and once it infects the 401ks, the pension